Well, welcome to venture number 5 of Ron Edwards Circle of Hands. It's been a year since we last played, but hey, we'll never let that stop us, right? So it is
The
my
joy of role
turn.
playing.
Sorry, man.
Right.
It's okay. We got busy.
It's my turn to GM for the first time. So this is a bit of an impromptu session, last minute schedule change. So we're playing today. The prep for this game has been done for a little over a year, for 13 months. So I had a chance to briefly review it yesterday, and we'll just have to hope for the best. So here we go. We need to get some things settled before we actually start. And I am supposed to inform our players where the venture takes place. It takes place in the mountains of northern Rolk, or Rolke. The lowest numbered component is knowledge. And I don't know if this is 100% rules appropriate, but I will classify that a bit further and tell you that it's knowledge of a martial nature, strategic nature, because that may help. I don't know if I need to be more specific than that, although by the very start of the game, you will know exactly what that military knowledge is. Do I have to tell you tone and stuff like that? I don't remember if I
No,
do.
you just
I think
have
it's the
to
lowest number component.
hit us with it.
All right, so that's all you get. Northern mountains of Rolke and knowledge of a military sort.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm placing a bet right now.
Uh-oh.
Who Anthony's going to choose? But,
who are you placing it with?
I'm going to tell Eloy who he's going to. That's it. I'm going to put it in the chat privately to Eloy. And let's see. You should change your name there, man.
Oh, that is right. I should.
Send it to Arngram. Okay. That's my official guess. No.
Well, gee. Would you like me to pick first?
Yeah.
I think it's your first turn at bat,
Yeah.
right? So
What?
no, wait. You Ivan ran for us, and you played with me. So yeah, so we're all experienced players of this game by now.
Right. So we've never actually established any kind of culture of play of who chooses first. We've gone by impulse, and we've gone by committee. What do we want to do this time?
I think we're going to go by diner rules. The first person that actually knows who the hell they're playing,
What they're going to order?
What they're going to order. Because I actually have looking at them a little stuck between these guys right here.
All right.
Make up their mind first. Sounds good.
Well, I refuse to be intimidated by the all the spells thing. I'm not going to be browbeaten by my own lack of memorization of all the spells. I will whip myself into shape. So everybody's on the table. I can play everybody except Anselm, whom I played last time. But having played him last time with his romantic nature, I don't have a whole lot of desire to take that particular nature on again, which kind of limits who's available. There are so many of the characters that are romantic, but I'm torn between Ingolf who we've seen a lot,
Yep.
and and Kai Ernst, who I just had so much fun playing. Right, that was just such a thrill to play him. But because of this martial nature, I think I want to play a warrior, so I'm going to go with Kai Ernst.
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay.
Did you win your bet?
And yes,
I did. Yeah. Tell him what he's won. Tell him what he's won. You know, because it was first character suggested himself. I was like, yeah, that's a good guy to send here. Yeah, that's kind of interesting here. I'm not really seeing Falk. Like Falk's not like jumping out at me, so I'm gonna be really, gonna run after that. I'm gonna go with Black Hedrick.
Yeah, Hedrick is popular in this game. Yeah. So is
Interesting.
Ingolf. Yeah.
And I'll be fair. I thought of playing Black Hedrick before I knew what it was, just because I like the character, so that I'm not, not being completely 100% pure.
Now, my guess was that you were going to take Anselm.
Anselm, yeah. See, that was my big choices between Anselm and Kai. I mean, between that and Black Hedrick.
Black Hedrick the Black.
Yeah, Hedrick the Black. Well, let's see. Do I really want to take? See, this is me at a diner.
You never really know until you've said it. I'm going to have the cheeseburger. Yeah. Okay, bring me chili fries. What?
Yeah, I got to play Anselm. Screw it. I'm not going to play Hedrick the Black. I was too much bias in there. I had to play Anselm.
Bias? What do you mean?
Oh. It's like a guy like Hedrick.
Anselm and Kai walk into a bar. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anselm and Kai. So, remind me of Anselm. Anselm is the farmer?
No, he's a low marshal.
Oh, right. Anselm is
low marshal.
So he had a history as a warrior.
Yeah.
That's a history as a warrior.
Okay. So, imagine yourselves as an eagle flying over the northern mountains of Rolke with dark, overcast skies, similar to the ones behind me. Imagine the snow-covered peaks of the northern mountain ranges near the border with Famberge, right? There's no set border, except that in some areas there is. And our hawk flies over a mountain fortress, a small fortress covering a pass, right? Watching over the pass, which marks the frontier between Rolke and Famberge. And you circle around with the snow, late autumn, early winter, and make your way south into Rolke. And not too far from this mountain pass, you come to the village of Hoframstead. It is a village. There is a great hall, smaller houses. The terrain is broken. It's not even land, so some are higher than others. It's high in the mountains, right? The way up to Hoframstead from Rolke is difficult. It's a difficult, steep road. The village is somewhat isolated. And the eagle descends upon the great hall where a fire is raging in the center, and a meeting of the townsfolk is taking place. Not really the townsfolk, more like the nobility of the town. At the head of the table sits Adalbert, who is the old ruler, the chieftain of the village of Hoframstead. And before him are his nobles, right? And, pontificating or, loudly declaiming is a man, one of the, this is a warrior of the village, maybe of the nobility, we'll say. His name is
Gentry.
Gunther, one of the
Gentry.
gentry. And his name is Gunther. And he is saying, the time to strike is now. Winter is nearly upon us, and our situation is dire. But the mountain fortress is lightly defended. The troops from Famberge occupying it are few. If we act now, we can secure the fortress and hold it through the winter. We can then ensure the survival of Hoframstead. Once we reach spring, things will get better. But if we don't take this fortress, we'll be overrun. Famberge will just invade and destroy our village, and all will be lost. And another of the gentry, a blonde man, stands, turning to Gunther and says, his name is Friedemann, and he says, there is no need. We know that one of our storehouses has burnt down, and the cheese and the supplies we hoped to trade have been destroyed, and so a harsh winter does await us. But you only counsel war. This will only lead to our destruction. There is no need to seek conflict with Famberge. We need but trade with them. We have sufficient cheese to trade. It is highly valued in this part of the world. We will have enough to make it through this winter if we only trade, and we'll get some supplies in return, and the village will have to tighten their belts, but we will make it through winter. There is no need for this. And in this hall, sitting, invited as guests of the representatives of the young king in Rolke, are Kai Ernst and I forgot your name already.
Because I
Ansem.
changed because Ansem. Yeah, there we go.
Ansem and Kai Ernst. And you have come here because the young king has learned, right? And you have learned as well, that there are indeed secret passes through the mountains. This knowledge is kept by the locals of the village of Hoframstead. So there is the main pass, right? The high pass, held by a fortress. But there are secret ways through the mountains through which small armies or group of men may move. And this might mean a great strategic advantage for the young king in Rolke if he were to procure knowledge of these passes. And so you have come. You've been here for a while already. It is late autumn, early winter. Again, it's already colder than expected. This winter will be harsh. And with one of the storehouses burnt down, there is a real fear that the village is in trouble. Mountain goats is mainly the business of this village. Goat herders and such. The terrain is not good for agriculture, but they make uh, greatly valued cheese from this goat milk, right? And that is one of the main avenues of wealth for this region. And so this battle is raging on the floor of the Great Hall as both factions seem to press their opinion before Adalbert. And Adalbert just stares at them, and just rubs his beard, his white beard. He's an older, and you've come to learn that he is highly respected in Hoframstead. And yet, that is the situation before you.
Well, look at Anselm to see the expression on his face.
The expression on my face is one of, I'm way out of my league, Buster. What do you think? Initially, I mean that's the look on my face, at least. A little frustrated. They're never easy decisions, though. Gunter is certainly willing to put people's lives up in order to get what he wants. It means a lot of people will die for sure. However, if they don't do that, then it's a possibility that many people will die. The first way is a guarantee. That never sits right with me.
Well, let's look at the tactics and the goals of those tactics. We have one side saying, before winter sets in, let's seize a defensive position, and we will gain a defensive position. The other side saying, we may starve. Let's obtain food. No army in the world is going to survive on an empty stomach. Border tension or raiding parties or rivalry between chieftains aside, if there's no food, a village this high in the mountains is doomed.
It's true. I was supposed to want to eat cheese all winter. I could get bold and imagine sooner or later that would run out. Trade always sounds like a nice way to do everything, but I've heard stories that does not necessarily work that well either. This is puzzling. It's definitely puzzling.
And so
what does the chief seem to think?
Sorry, and so Gunter is again on the offensive with his, striding back and forth near the fire in the center of the hall, and he says the garrison is poorly manned. They'll just, why would they trade? They'll just come here and seize what they wish.
Forgive me, but you can't have it both ways. It can't be a weak, poorly manned garrison and a force that can come in and seize what they wish.
No. The town of Edmundburg lies beyond the mountain fortress. The fortress just holds the pass. That is the force we need fear.
Just
higher.
beyond the pass, meaning the fortress is closer to Edmundsburg than it is to here.
The fortress lies between the two towns, right? So the fortress of Edmundburg is in Famberge, it's the southern border, and Hoframstead is the first town. In between lies the High Pass, and that is a small fortress with a small garrison at this time. What they really fear is an invasion from Famberge, right? But if they hold the fortress, they control the pass. And so
Until they starve.
if we can take the fortress, a small garrison can hold it. Because you see, we have an advantage. We have secret ways in order to get to the fortress. We know how to seize it. A small force of men may take it, and once we have it, we'll hold it. Famberge does not know these mountains like the people of Hoframstead do. But we have...
Then people will sing your praises.
This is not about praise. This is not about me. This is about securing our people. Look at us. Small village up in the mountains. We can hold out indefinitely with a small force. Once the winter snows have thawed, commerce can reopen to the south, and we can strengthen that fortress and solidify our position. It's all about security.
But you are trying to persuade this hall that your suggested course of action is the right one, which suggests to me that your chief has doubts.
Let's have some charm rolls. We haven't had any charm rolls.
Yeah.
Let's do a charm roll for...
Let's do it right now.
Gunter. Let's see what Gunter has to say about this.
So we have to do charm for everybody, don't we?
We have a lot of people here, yeah. So
A lot of people.
we have three main named characters, right? So
all right.
let's do Gunter first.
Starting with Gunter.
The warrior, yes.
All
We
right.
can assume we're using 2 dice. Have we been over here long enough?
Yeah, it sounds like you've been here. So you're looking for 12s.
We are.
Can it be done?
Yep. Grab the ceremonial salad bowl.
Rolling 2 dice, to which I will add 5.
Ooh.
I roll a 4 and a 1.
So 5 and 5 is 10. So that
Which is usually less than 12.
No.
14.
Ooh, interesting situation. Success and a failure. Cool.
And Kai
That's
has been
probably
busily
because-
demonstrating why they don't like him very much.
Let's.
Probably because Ansel keeps his mouth shut and just listens.
There is Friedemann, who is the gentry who is lobbying for trade instead of war. So let's try him and see what the situation is.
All right, here it comes. Well, starting from a base of 5, to which I will add 9.
There we go. See, well, this makes sense. You're sort of taking his side,
The
right?
dice pay attention.
So, yeah.
And I 16.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
interesting again.
He's entertaining. That Anselm guy's entertaining.
something, yeah.
And even though he hasn't said a word, let's take this opportunity to roll for Adalbert,
Adalbert.
the noble chieftain.
Here we go. Ooh, 15.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, ditto. Well, yeah. 16.
All right, so
Hey, listen, Anselm's charming. He's pretty good.
yep, you should have brought Hadrick. This would have been so much more interesting.
Kill him!
He's the wizard. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Positive, excellent. So,
this makes sense for the narrative so far. This is great. Dice
yeah,
now.
this is the nice do know. So, Adalbert has been silent through this, and he's been nodding at both. And You've been here long enough. Adalbert is an older man, maybe too old to still be chieftain of this village, and he is greatly respected by all. Uh, but perhaps, again, a bit too feeble by now. Uh, Certainly in body, perhaps in mind. So he hasn't come to a decision. This isn't really the first time that you've heard this argument. You know, it is all the talk you hear in the village. Everyone's worried after that fire that consumed the storehouse, right? That's when things turned dire. They would have had enough grain and supplies to last through the winter because they did do some trading throughout the rest of the year, but now the situation is grim. Adalbert hasn't given any indication of which side he favors, and he still says we still have time before the first snows come in. We need to consider the feelings and opinions of the gentry are being taken into consideration, and we will come to a decision. We will soon.
Adalbert, may I ask you a question? Or
Yes, handsome.
maybe one or two, actually, but forgive me. Has the town of man, help me out with the town name.
Hoframstead.
Hoframstead. Rolls off the tongue. It's the town of Hoframstead. I know. Has the town ever held the fortress in the past? Who originally built it?
It is indeed an ancient fortress built in the dim past, and over the years it has been held by the local tribes. Rolke, Van Berge, once we were one people, but since my grandfather's grandfather time, new nations have taken names, and my own grandfather's counseled against all this tribality of nations, and we are the mountain people. But times change. It has been held by both, I suppose, at one time or another. Gunther is...
All it takes is the fortress. Once you have a fortress up there, it seems like somebody should hold it, and that means that the people should be split. Do you normally conduct trade with Edinburgh through the secret passages that they don't know about, or how do you usually get there? Do you have to go past the fortress?
We usually have to go past the fortress. We take wagons and mules to carry our trade goods. I suppose one could risk the passes, but that would raise suspicion of how we got there. And sacks of grain are harder to haul, so perhaps it would be difficult to move through the passes. A small light force might move with ease, but I don't know. We dare not risk the secret knowledge of our people.
I can see that. So you haven't sent spies to see how Edinburgh is faring as well. That would be too risky, I imagine.
Gunther speaks up and says, not as far as Edinburgh, but we have seen the conditions at the pass. The fortress, as I say, is lightly manned. I think it is a tight winter for us all. And yes, indeed, the secret passes lead up to the fortress. That is how we know it is lightly defended. And that is how I know that the time is now.
I suppose the only other question I have is how many people and who?
And so, you know that Gunther leads a small contingent of men-at-arms, right? But he needs permission from Adalbert to move, right? And he comes up to you and says, he approaches the table and sort of leans, over it, facing you. And we said that you succeeded on his charm roll.
Yeah,
Says,
everybody loves me.
Yeah, and so, that's true. Everybody loves you. That's going to be easy to remember. So he leans over and, sort of eyes Kai, sideways, but just addresses you and says, help me convince Adalbert. Come with me. Let us raid that. The prowess of the Circle Knights of Rolke have reached the news of their prowess and the power has reached even as far as Hoframstead. Come with me. We can do this. We can take the fortress. Help us save Hoframstead. I'll give you what you want. I'll give you the route. Just help me convince our chieftain. You know I'm right.
Thank you for the offer. It's not something a decision that I should necessarily make on my own. It is above my station, but thank you.
It's not above mine.
He says, stop Friedemann. He might be a spy, a Von Berger spy. And then he turns around, right, and whips his... Oh, I'm sorry.
I said, what do you think that? As he's whipping...
Yeah, as he's whipping his
I grab him.
Cloak around and then turns around again and says, he risks much. All they want is coin, him, and that fat cheese merchant, the fat cheesemaker Oswald. All they want is money. Don't you see that there are bigger things at stake?
You've already inferred what I want. What do you want?
I want safety for Hoframstead. Friedemann speaks up from the back. What is this whispering? We are in open council. Speak your mind, man. And then he turns around again with a flourish of his cape. It's a cloak, right? It's cold. Yeah. It's winter.
Imagine this council's going to go on for a while.
Yeah, he goes over and grabs a horn of ale or something off the main table where Adalbert sits, and Friedemann takes the floor and again says, trade is what will get you over this year. We have a small amount of cheese to trade and pottery and baskets, and it's not much, And but there is enough to procure supplies and last through the winter.
No questions, if you don't mind.
Speak, Kai Ernst. And he
my question is simple. Are we the iron folk, or are we the cheese and pottery folk?
And he frowns deeply at your word, right? And so he comes over to the table as well.
He's welcome.
Says, he is welcome, I bet. And so he says, Ernst, and he looks at you both because he likes you both. And he comes over to him and says, you know this is madness. There's no need to do this. you, Circle Knights, can be the voice that sways this council, finally
Yes.
spurs Adalbert into action. Gunther's leading us to war.
Yes.
We only have, we don't have that many warriors. I think he thinks too highly of himself. Can he really take that fortress? Can he really hold it while we starve?
Well, that's interesting. You have doubt in his martial ability. I'm letting this carry, right? Using my full voice. Right? Oh, so you have doubt in Gunther's martial ability.
And so he, his scowl deepens further, and you can see Gunther leaning forward with his own,
Right. But I'm not going to surrender the
ale.
floor just
Right.
yet.
Just yet, of course.
It's winter. It's cold. This debate has been going on for days, and frankly, it's boring. It keeps going in circles. We should attack. No, we shouldn't. Oh, but yes, we should. But wait. No, we shouldn't. Freezing everyone into indecision until my poor companion Anselm here ends up speaking in his sleep about it. So, my proposal would be, let's remove the doubt. Let's have a martial display. This is the only longhouse I think I've ever spent this much time in where no one has wrestled or fought or punched anyone for any reason. Frankly, I'm shocked.
And so he takes a step back, scowling at you, and says,
I'm not suggesting that you fight. You clearly have a weight advantage over Gunther. It would hardly be fair. But, a martial demonstration is certainly not unexpected, and the chieftain could surely be entertained by a demonstration of the skill of those who have sworn their service to him.
At this point, I'm like really just trying to, act as if there's something wrong with my face and I'm choking or something because I'm having trouble the whole time, not bursting out in laughter at the audacity of my friend.
Kai, on the other hand, is walking a tightrope between fury and that kind of rough camaraderie between men who haven't figured out who's really in charge.
Yeah.
Yet. That kind of. So, but there's this undercurrent of.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he takes a step back and he says, fighting, that is precisely my point. We're in no position to fight. What would you have me do? Wrestle Gunther like...
No. I would expect warriors to put on a martial demonstration. Not trying to kill each other, but trying to demonstrate the skill. The chieftain must have a fair assessment of his warriors before he can agree to a bold act such as this. If there are few warriors and if their quality is in doubt.
Gunther says, I have every confidence in my people. I have every confidence in my own strength. What would you have us do, Knight of Rolke?
Well, you could fight Anselm.
It's kind of you to volunteer, Anselm. Yeah.
I give him a little bit of an eyebrow.
I assume you would have challenged me if you felt that it would be a fair fight. So perhaps Anselm is closer to what you perceive in yourself. Poke.
He looks at
Poke.
Anselm, and he looks at you, and he says, "You speak." Well, see, this is strange because now you're taking his position, but he doesn't like you, and so.
Yes, exactly.
So I think he says, Anselm agrees with my point. He knows the value of swift, decisive action. I think it's you who needs convincing. Would you face me on the floor?
I'm already standing.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
You know, the red scarf swirling around him, not wearing any kind of heavy overcoat like the others, just enduring the early winter chill, right? Already on his feet. Table moves, you know, the bench shakes, all the people on the bench behind it. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So he starts, removing his cloak and taking his tunic off, right? Because it's going to be a wrestling match from what you said, right?
Sure.
And
Unarmed Combat.
yeah, we're going to have to look at that. I need
It's okay,
to
Caesar.
take care of something. I'll be right back. Hang on.
While you're taking care of that, Ivan can share with us Unarmed Combat.
That's right. That's right. Because that's the one thing I didn't write down because it looked pretty easy at the time. So it's in our in our chapters number 6, which is killing.
The killing chapter. Except
even
this
though we
time
said
we're
not gonna
trying
kill.
not to do any killing.
Well, so far, this
Probably.
doesn't really mean anything.
Probably
Killing.
trying not to do any killing.
Yeah, fighting unnamed people. Okay, and now armed combat. There we go. Battering or otherwise brutally someone into submission, humiliation, and helplessness, and killing them, but without a weapon handy. Game mechanics do not distinguish among striking, grappling, shoving, throwing, choking, and all that stuff.
So we
The
just
only
describe
mechanics-
it and then
Yeah. Only mechanics features that damage is accumulated normally. So you're still doing straight combat rolls, just like the regular combat rolls. But being brought to Brawn 0 and Quickness 0 does not kill a person, but renders them helpless.
Sure.
And then I think that if you actually do that all the way to 0, then you have to do all the damage over again.
If
this
you
time
wanted to
killing
kill them, yeah.
If you want to kill them. So yeah, so pretty much you can bring them to 0-0, and then it just heals normally. But they're not going to
And we're back.
die.
Welcome back.
So it's fairly easy.
So let's do. The host needs to enable screen sharing, if you please.
Oh, I'm very sorry
Excellent.
that you have been in some way impeded.
Denied.
Multiple.
And this is as these two men are ready to just beat each other to a bloody pulp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go, to get a good view. I'm gonna slide across the room to whatever men are accompanying Gunter. I'm assuming he's got some people, some members of his retinue with him.
He's got there's like 4 warriors that that usually go with him. They do the scouting in the mountains, and they pretty much do the security for the village, right?
And so the conversation I'm going to try to have with him as we're watching this is like, do you think he has a chance? Yeah. And beyond that is really just asking, trying to like start to get their take on, do you guys think you're really up for this?
So before we go to the actual combat, let's do a charm check for another NPC that I wish to introduce. Oswald.
Is it Oswald the Cheeseburger?
Cheesemaker, yes. So let's do a quick. Oops.
Oswald's theme song.
Yes. The alarm to take care of what a wake-up call for the rest of the house is what that was.
Oh dear, Oswald does not like me.
Oh,
He,
okay.
he also
sign.
does not like me.
Hmm.
I got a 9. Not that it matters.
So did I. So did I. But yeah.
Fair.
Wow. Oswald does not like us. That's awesome.
So Oswald is a quite overweight figure with lots of displays of wealth. He's got chains. They're not, it's not gold, but it's maybe like silver or something, because he's not that rich. But as compared to the rest of the village, he is certainly the richest man. He's not gentry per se. He owns a lot of the goats in town, and so has established himself as the premier cheesemaker of the village. He has never been accused of being handsome, but he's quite wealthy. And so he comes over to Anselm as Kai and Gunther are squaring off, right? And he goes and he whispers to you, he lumbers over and says, you have to stop this. Come on. This is futile. You know that trade is the answer.
Stop this. This is this is what we do. This should be entertaining.
I knew that you knights would be nothing but trouble. You will have the destruction of our village. This is talk of war. This is combat. This is all you can think of. Think of the people.
I just give this like, we haven't promised to do anything yet, Oswald. There's something a test of strength there. Your cheese is fantastic, by the way.
So
I'm definitely gonna have to bring some of that back to the king.
All right. So let us see if I can now share the screen.
Just
Do we see the screen?
we sure
Yes, there it is.
Oh, excellent,
do.
excellent.
Fantastic.
We have Kai, and we have our opponent. And so,
Who's got the better quickness?
yeah, it comes down to quickness.
Sure does.
Oh, geez. Let me open up the file because my printer is not super good. I think I'm gonna have to buy a new one, and I can't read that number if it's a 6 or an 8. Hang on a second.
Very important.
Venture prep.
I wonder if I should challenge Oswald to a duel after
It is.
this.
It is a quickness of 8.
Ooh. Dang.
So, what's Kai's quickness?
Quickness is, he slipped off my screen here, is 7.
Ooh. So he is first.
Unless Kai spends
Unless.
brawn to go first.
That is true. You can pump brawn to move first.
I will.
Excellent. And so, I believe it is your move first.
All right. So, what I have in my mind is that the tables are being moved back and people are kind of forming a circle.
Yes. And Adalbert is sitting in his chieftain's chair, just staring at you and sort of mumbling to himself.
All right. So, going along with kind of this sense of, I don't know, overcharged bravado that's kind of been a subtext of some of the probing questions or positions, which Kai may or may not actually hold, right? He raises his hands as if to demonstrate to the audience, like, look at me, getting their attention. But this is just a precursor to moving in and seeking to get control of Gunther's head.
Hmm.
Right. So he wants to get his hands in and around behind, around the neck and behind the head, so that he can sling him to the ground, and that's his goal, is through control of the head get Gunther on the ground.
Okay.
Not really trying to
injure him
rough him
or
up
anything.
first.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So his intention is to, he's a quick fighter, so he figures maybe he can just go in and land the first blow, and maybe a punch to the face to disorient you, and seize momentum in this fight. That's his plan. So, yeah.
So of the two of us, who is of the advantage?
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at what just happened. Nothing has happened yet. What are the physical circumstances? Terrain, surprise. I think this is pretty much an even situation, right? You've been to the hall before. He has been to the hall before. So terrain is not necessarily advantage. He does have the home court advantage in that this is his people, but I don't think that intervenes into the fight. I think this is going to come down to who pulls who into the clash, which is the fourth
Right.
thing that determines that. So
that's
since
me.
you have the initiative, yes, you would be pulling him into the clash, and so you would have the initiative. Yeah.
All right, so both of them have to double their quickness and then split them and write them down. They you commit to how you're going to split your quickness. Or you have double your quickness.
So I do need something to write with.
So in that case, Gunther has I think 16, which he then has to allocate between offense and defense prior to his roll.
Yep.
Then he rolls those 2 dice and adds his quickness. Or no, he rolls those 2 dice and adds it,
to both sides of both components.
And Kai Ernst does the same with his magnificent 7. So he has 14 points to allocate between those two. And he can go 0-14 or...
But he rolls 3 dice because he has the advantage.
He does roll 3 dice.
Okay.
So,
I have committed to my split.
All right. So I have rolled. Why don't you roll as well?
Why don't I? Can you hear the violence inherent in the system?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an underwhelming roll. However, I rolled 9.
Okay, that's not bad.
And I committed 10 of my doubled quickness to the attack.
Oh my God. So you're talking 19 attack. And how much defense?
I added 4. I had 14 to split. So I rolled 9, so 13 for defense.
13 for defense. Oh, this is interesting.
Then you got Gunther's defense and then his attack. So what kind of numbers does
he
have?
So here's what happens. As you move in to grab his neck, he is just a tiny bit faster than you, and he attempts his punch, but he doesn't connect. He didn't expect you to rush him so close, right? And so he misjudges the distance, and you manage to get your hands on his neck, and so you do inflict 2 points of damage on him. So there's no armor, so that goes equally to brawn and quickness, if I recall correctly.
Well, so so Gunther rolled a 17 for defense?
Did. Yes.
So it's actually those 2 points plus
his brawn. That's right.
Plus the brawn, right. Which is currently 5, having spent 1 to seize the initiative.
Pump. Yeah. Right. Okay. So.
But it is whatever your brawn was at the beginning of the clash. I mean, the pumping is gone.
Then 6.
No. It's prior. It's like you pumped and then. I think that one's gone.
Exactly. So it's he had 6 originally, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
think-
5 plus 2 is 7.
Yeah.
So then he splits it 3-4 because you have to split it as
Yes.
evenly as possible, but the balance goes to quickness.
That is correct, sir.
So you find yourself at quite an advantageous position, and you do have a good hold on him. This would put us back to the order of the clash, back to 12 o'clock. But since you pulled and you inflicted damage, he goes last. And so Kai finds himself again with the initiative in this conflict.
Right.
And so let me rethink my split. And the split is now the current quickness, right?
It is. Yeah, it's always the current quickness.
It's always current values.
Right.
And so
Man, normally you would declare intention of what you're going to do next at the end of this thing.
Yeah,
However, it's kind of moot seeing as he's right there again.
yeah, that's
Well,
true.
my intention, because I don't like that he's that little bit quicker than me.
Mhm.
So while he's still healthy, now's the time for me to drive my knee up into his head, rather than later in the fight when I might accidentally kill him or something along those lines. So I'll be introducing him
To your knee.
to my knee. Yeah.
So his plan is to basically try to defend by breaking your grip, right? So he's focused. He's realized that it is real trouble since his neck is compromised. So he's more focused on breaking your hold than actually striking you.
Right.
And so,
I have committed to my split.
yes, and so have
Do I still have
and
advantage because I'm holding his
yes, you
head?
do because of position, correct. So very good. Roll it.
Ooh. I rolled another 9, a 5, and 2 2s, to which I'm adding 14.
Oh,
Oh.
so this is like a ridiculously high number, is it not? It's
9 plus 14 is,
it's usually 23.
yeah, usually.
Minus 15 tends to be 8.
Plus his brawn.
So
And my brawn is still 5.
and your brawn is still 5, so that's 13 again. Divided by 2 is 6 and 7 respectively, which takes him down, and I guess this is hand to hand. It's not lethal.
It's
right?
not lethal, no. It's just
Right.
Not
So
instantly lethal.
he's just the fight goes out of him at this point. I think is the
yeah, he's at 0 for both. So he's
Oh, if he's a 0 for
he's
both,
out.
then yeah, he is.
Yeah, you
he's out.
smack
He's,
him on
he's,
your knee, and he collapses senseless to the floor. And the crowd just gives a gasp at this point and stands back. And I think at this point, Friedemann stands up and says, "There, you see, this is no time for war. This is the best of our warriors, bested in mere instants. We must trade. It is folly to attack this fort."
I thought he did quite well. What you're failing to recognize is my quality as a fighter. He's fierce, fearless, brave. The fact that he's unconscious does not change any of that an iota.
Okay, so he moves closer to you, right? Stands next to you and says, he says, "Come. This will lead us to ruin. I can give you knowledge of the passes that you seek. There's no need to go through with this. You get what you want. Your young king gets his secret routes through the mountains. I have knowledge of this as well. Don't jeopardize our future. There can still be peace. You hold the balance of our lives in your hand, Knight of Rolke. Help us." And King, not King, Chieftain
Chieftain.
Adalbert. Yeah, he says, a worthy display indeed of the strength and power of the young king.
Forgive me for ending the contest too soon. I fear that I have been engaged in war too long and have forgotten the sport of war. And it should not be confused, the difference between the two. And I apologize for making that confusion myself. Please allow me to do what I can for young Gunther here. And with that, I'm going to cast a spell.
Ooh.
In the meantime, now that I'm hanging out with these fellows, I've just seen their leader just trounced. I'm going to lean over to one of the other fellows, and of course, been talking to them in the meantime. But I'm sorry, I forgot your name. What is it? And I've been hanging out with these guys back and forth.
Oh, his name. That's a good question. His name is Herman.
Herman.
Yes.
He's now a real boy.
He is now a real boy. And so you must roll a charm roll.
Immediately. Absolutely.
Immediately.
It's a good thing I'm charming. These dice guys tell me I'm charming. That is a 7 plus 6. That is usually a 13.
Oh, you are quite charming indeed. And so Herman looks at you and says,
Yeah, forgive me.
Yeah. What did you say to Herman? Did you say something?
I just asked him his name first. But if he was about to say something, I wasn't going to interrupt him.
It's Herman. Would he call you? He wouldn't call you Lord, right? Because you're.
No, I'm the same guy, same as him. I'm a martial guy, another warrior.
He says, "My name is Herman."
Don't feel bad. Kai's beaten up worse than him. He'll be fine. But what do you think? Do you think you really have enough men to take that fort? Do you think his plan or his idea is sound? I mean, you know how these gentry are. They get an idea in their head and they puff their chests up and they strut around like my friend Kai here. And they talk a good game, but they're not the ones doing the dying.
Well, Gunther is a strong warrior, though evidently not as strong as your lord over there. But he loves Hoframstead. He's a loyal man. He's always been good to us. His first concern is the safety of the village. I would fight for him to the death. And if he says we can take it, we've seen the garrison. It's not that heavily armed. I think we can take it. We take the secret route. We go over the mountains. There is a place where we can lower ourselves into the fortress, into the not the base, right, but over the rampart. We can lower ourselves over the rampart. If we pick the right time and do so at night, we should be able to overrun it. The advantage of surprise will multiply our numbers. And I think Gunther is right. If you come with us, then victory can only be assured.
Well, the idea does have some kind of charm to it, to retake a fortress and to be part of that sort of great victory, saving the people and all that sort of thing. And it's certainly something that would be a notable accomplishment.
Well,
I don't know.
You have the upper hand. You've just shown our Lord how powerful and how accomplished fighters you are. You can surely convince him. Convince him to allow Gunther to lead this raid. Come with us. We'll take the fortress.
Let me ask you one question, and don't take us the wrong way. I know how these gentry are.
Yes.
It seems a little odd right before the harvest, or right before the winter, all of a sudden there would be a fire that would take out the main stores of the village. How long has this debate been raging on? And I'm not saying that your lord did anything.
Mm.
I'm surprised people haven't levied accusations already. It just seems kind of odd that if they were debating this beforehand, all of a sudden you're back into a corner by having your food stores gone.
Well, it's always been a question of whether to fight or to trade, but I think the fire came at just an advantage. Are you suggesting that someone would try to put the safety of the village at risk for their own means? I cannot countenance that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows how these gentry think half the time, but I can see how that Oswald only wants to make himself fatter. That's pretty obvious. I've never been a big fan of people like Freeman. I understand his point. I mean, it sounds good on the outside. Let's have peace. Let's trade. Let's be friendly. But, we're not necessarily, we are the Iron Folk, and there's still, the world is not, it sounds like it would be a great world, an ideal world, if we could just trade cheese and grain all day. Now, people are not like that. So that always, it makes me suspicious that he's only seeking to line his own pockets or to have some kind of advantage in that manner.
Gunther fears that, just as you say, Friedemann is here just to line his own pockets, and so is that fat fool, Oswald.
But you could easily just suspect, and forgive me, you could easily just suspect somebody in Gunther's position. If people won't listen to him, they can back to the corner and once again, not saying that he would do it.
No,
but the stores are lit up, and now, we must do something. We have to attack.
No, impossible. Gunther loves Hoframstead. He's a loyal son of Hoframstead. That is impossible. And at this point, I think Adalbert says 10 to... Oh, I'm sorry. You were casting a spell.
I was going to cast a spell, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I want to know what that is before Adalbert says anything, if he says something.
It's a spell of Amborion. It's Balm, which is just a 1 point, but I'm going to heal Gunther. And this is the second half of the demonstration. You want to talk about war? Well, okay, let's talk about war. Kai's happy to go to war. But
that's what happens when you bring martial characters to the venture, right? So so how does this full him back up
no,
to full?
It's only going to restore brawn and quickness by 3.
Okay.
But that's enough to get him back on his feet.
Yeah. So it's 3 and 3.
But Kai's method of doing it is likely to disturb. I mean, one, it's of course magic, which is disturbing in its own right. But he straightens Gunther's limbs. He gestures for his friends and allies to step back. He kneels down beside him, and as you recall, he smashed the man's face into his knee. Right, so there's blood. Right.
Yeah.
So he licks his 2 fingers and puts it into the blood, and as he's vocalizing sounds that are changing in volume and slipping from guttural to higher than his normal pitch, he's drawing a spiral on Gunther's cheek, and the blood is following. There's a finite amount of blood, and it's rolling along with him until it begins to wrap around Kai's fingers, and then he slips it back down to the man's mouth, where it's ingested with a sharp intake of breath, and there's the brief flash of Amborian magic, and then Kai just simply claps his hands and stands.
He goes, and suddenly, rises up, but the smashed nose is now set back in place, and there's none of the expected damage, and he sort of looks at you astonished,
Hold
but
out my
also
hand to him.
yeah, and so he's a bit hesitant, right? He didn't like you up to this point, but things have changed. So he grabs your hand and you lift him up. I'm hesitant if you should even roll charm again. It says you're
game.
supposed to. Sure, do it. Do it again.
Because the magic is unsettling, right?
And now, yeah, and you roll with the 2 dice and everything. So
I'll say you fought well. And mean it.
mm-hmm.
I rolled 10, to which I get to add 5.
Yes. So his opinion has changed. And he says, he whispers to you as you lift him up. And he says, you are the key. I told you. Come with us. I think there's no way we can fail if you come with us.
I whisper back, that's probably true. And then I go to finish my meal.
Yeah, and so so Anselm, not Anselm, Adalbert, at this point, stands up, having seen you, fell his warrior and then lift him up, and says, I think your display of martial prowess certainly indicates that.
I have forgotten something and I need to interrupt.
Go for it.
I forgot, because of the failed oath that was sworn, that he had earned a mark which had revealed a gift, which is that his charm rolls apply to a group.
Oh, so everybody is impressed. Excellent.
Sorry for.
Yeah, that's fine. It's been a while. So he says this clearly settles it. You have shown that you are you have shown that the fate of Hofram is perhaps best laid upon your shoulders. I will take your counsel, Knights of Rolke. I have heard the pleas of my people, counseling both courses of action, trade or war. But from what I've seen, I would listen to your wisdom. Eat, rest. We can make a decision tonight. The food is about to be served, and so he gives you a little bit of time before the decision has to be reached, right? So he says, we'll decide after the meal. And a meager feast, right? It's mostly some bread, the wonderful local cheese, which is indeed worthy of trade, and they begin serving, right? So you don't have to come to a decision right away, but by the end of the feast, you should have some. And as you're being served and people are drinking and settling down, and you see the whispers, through the hall, this display of both martial prowess and magic is all that people can talk about right now. And you guys notice that Oswald gets up and leaves, right? In the middle of this serving of the food, which is completely unexpected for a man of his girth, right? That he would leave just as the food and drink are being wheeled out, right? So you notice that. You know, that's all you see.
I give Kai just a look, and stand up, and I follow Oswald.
All right. All right.
I'm
so
relieved because part 3 of my plan is about to take.
it's about to take place. All right. So you follow Oswald, and it's almost nightfall. It's not really night yet, but it's this has been raging on since noon, right? So, but it is winter, so the light dies early, right? But it is yet there's still light outside, and you can see this man huddled. It's pretty cold. There is snow on the ground, and he's making his way through the rocky, uneven terrain, right? And it looks like he's headed towards his house, because you know where he lives. You've
Right.
seen his house. But what you do notice is another figure that was coming down through a pair of houses, and when the figure spots Oswald, the figure seems to hide from Oswald, and the figure is a woman, and Oswald seems to be looking around for something, but he's still headed towards his house. And this figure is huddled between two of the buildings, and you catch a glimpse of her face, and you recognize Ingrid, who is the wife of Oswald. And the reason you recognize Ingrid is because she is clearly the loveliest woman in all of Hoframstead. She's young. She is quite pretty. Perhaps not incredibly beautiful by the standards of Rolke, but she is clearly the most beautiful woman in this village. And she seems to be hiding from him.
In that case, I know where he lives. It seems like he's going home. This has really kind of piqued my interest because I'm really not sure what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let him pass, and then I'm going to approach her.
Okay. So she's starting to move towards a grove of pine trees that sort of lines this part of the village. You can intercept her. She hasn't seen you. You can intercept her if you wish.
I'm following her.
Okay.
This is
So she makes her way to the clump of trees and starts descending a series of stone steps carved into the mountainside. It's not really stone steps. It's more like the ground is really uneven, right? So this is a natural formation, which you have seen, which leads down to a small depression, right? Like a little bowl, like a natural amphitheater type of thing. And you have been here before. There is a cave at the bottom, and this is where the village's religious ceremonies are conducted, right? It's sort of a holy place that they have. There is a cave with a small grotto inside, tended by the village priest, who goes by the name of Dietmar. And
okay.
so she's descending the steps, right? Do you intercept? Do you watch? What do you do?
I'm gonna intercept her right before she gets to the cave with the priest, or place where she's obviously entering where the priest might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Ingrid,
okay.
it's a cold night and dark to be out this time.
Oh, you startled me.
Oh, forgive me.
Roll
Forgive
charm,
me.
please.
Roll charm. Of course, I'm rolling charm.
I see that smile.
Oh,
That sounds like an amazing roll, or not
that's
quite?
a 10. It's a 10.
Oh, it's so close, and yet so
the whole
far.
family just doesn't trust me.
Well, you've got to stop sneaking up on people at night.
I know.
She startled me. And she's carrying a small basket, right? Covered with piece of cloth, right? She says, "You startled me. Aren't you supposed to be in the Great Hall?"
He was. We've been there for hours, and the gentry just love to hear themselves talk. And I needed to get some fresh air. I figured maybe I'd seek the counsel of Dietmar for a moment. And I came down here, and here you were.
Oh yes, I prepared this small meal for Dietmar. He's busy at the grotto. I'm sure he would be happy to speak with you. And
Fantastic! How fortuitous that you don't have to walk alone.
Yes, indeed. Roll wits.
Okay. Alrighty. I think he's kind of stupid. I mean, well, what I meant to say was.
What I mean to say.
Keen-eyed. Not today. That's a 14.
Not today. He said, "Well, she's clearly nervous. So
absolutely.
She seemed to have interrupted something here."
Imagine I have.
And so, come with me. We'll go see Dietmar together. And
of course.
She descends the rest of the steps, and she calls into the mouth of the cave, "Dietmar, Anselm is here with me." And you see Dietmar coming out of the cave, and he's smiling, and then when he sees you, it's sort of, Anselm, roll
Dietmar.
Charm, please.
Oh, that's good. That is a 17, which it's over 12.
Okay, so 17 is good. All right, so welcome. What can I do for you? I have brought you some meal, some food, Dietmar. Oh, thank you, Ingrid. Yes, come in. And you come in, and this cave is sheltered from the wind, right? And it's lit by torches, right? There seems to be some sort of natural chimney which carries the smoke out of the cave. And the cave is uncommonly warm, right? It seems to be warmer than usual. Clearly much warmer than the outside, which is a little bit strange because caves are usually cold as well. But yeah, it's pretty warm, and it's not a huge place, but you notice the small patch of cultivated ground which lies beneath the natural chimney, right? So that sunlight does get into this part of the cave, and it's the local patch of cannabis, right, that they use for ceremonial purposes. He's the priest. He tends to that, and it seems to be flourishing, which also is a bit weird at this time of year. But the temperature in the cave seems about right, and there seems to be some sunlight that can come in. Not now because it's really dark outside, and of course the torches along the wall highlight what looks like a small niche at the back of the cave, and there's a small stone statue about yay big, which you don't really recognize as anything, right? Yeah.
That's odd. And I just walk in, I'm like, this is remarkable crop and remarkable. Hadrick knows more about this stuff than I do. And shall we talk as men do, as people do, or as the Iron Folk do? And I'm already like just breaking off a piece and ready to to pass the pipe around, for the social aspect, simply because that's what we do. That's what people do in the Iron Land. Not for inebriation, but just because that's part of the culture. That's part of what people do.
And he says, of course, and he sort of looks longingly at Ingrid, but sits
and I have
down,
this look of a guy that knows he's interrupted something that he's not supposed to know about. But I'm doing my mouth isn't saying any of it, but my eyes are clearly conveying that yes, I know that I've just interrupted you too.
So, he has some benches there and small things like a stool. And, not many people usually come into the grove. Most of the services are held outside in the open, right? In the open bowl-like depression that you pass through. But he does have some comforts in here, right? And that Dietmar is, he's the local priest, but he's just a goat herd, right? So
Right.
he's not, a man of wealth by any means, right? But this is his job, right? He's the village priest and goat herd, so he seems to be doing fine. And he says, "Well, glad to have you with us."
I said, I was like, I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to stay the entire night. And I just don't want. I really just don't want to eat with them. They bored the heck out of me for 6 hours. I just want to be among normal people for just a moment.
Yes.
And then I'll leave you two alone. But I just let that hang out there,
Yeah, and so they're sort of look down and avoid eye contact with each other. And so how is the meeting going? Has the village, has Lord Adalbert come to a decision? What? Tell us what is going on.
I'd hate to be in Adalbert's place. He seems like he's done enough for this village already, and he's lived a long and full life, and he's stuck between two hotheads. So, Gunter, all Gunter wants to do is attack, which is reasonable, considering the condition that the village is in right now. That it would be a good idea, and it seems like they probably could. I've talked to his men. However, Friedman just wants to trade, and well, Oswald seems to agree with him. It's strange that a young woman like yourself, that's so beautiful, and to marry an old, a fellow like him.
Oh,
I'm passing around the pipe of the entire time.
The thing is super awkward, right? So that nobody's meeting your gaze.
Although I think at some point, if we smoke together, I get a second charm roll.
That is true, but but you succeeded with both. No, you missed it with her, but you succeeded with him. That's right. So go for it.
I don't know if I'm looking to see if I add anything to this or not.
No, I don't think. I think you get the
basic
both dice. Both dice. Yeah.
Yeah. Second charm roll. Okay, let's try. Perhaps he sees me differently now. God. Right. Yes. Okay, for a second I thought it was going to be snake eyes. Yes, that is a 13.
Ah, excellent. Excellent. All right. And she says, well, my family is not the wealthiest in town, and sometimes things are arranged so that everything works out for the best for everyone involved. But I can't say I'm unhappy. And, her words say one thing, her face doesn't really match 100%. So she said, they say, he says, well, perhaps we can pray together, says Dietmar. We can all pray together, and the situation with the village will come to resolve itself in a peaceful manner. And luckily, we have the mother to watch over us.
The mother?
Yes, this isn't exactly, standard practice in Rolke, right? Yes, the mother. It's he gestures to the idol in the back of the grotto, right? And it's this figure. It's clearly a feminine form. It's the classic Earth Mother figure you may have seen in countless depictions of Paleolithic or whatever it is people, right? No head, no arms really, but clear female curves and pregnant belly and large breasts, and that's what it resembles. It seems to be made out of stone. And he says, "Yes, I think she is of Pananthuri origin. I found her by the ruins up in the mountains while I was herding goats. I think she looks well, and well, our ancestors worshipped her, and so I think she'll bless the village and bring prosperity back. So,
Yeah, I know some of those things from some of the artifacts that some of my friends had to go examine at one time, but other than that, I really know nothing of that. But she certainly looks interesting. I won't stay here and leave you and bother you too. I understand.
oh! I should be getting back home. Says.
Oh no, please. I'll
No,
go first.
no. That's quite all right. I will speak later with Dietmar. I'm glad we had the chance to have some lunch together. And I just
You're expected home?
Oswald is probably looking for me, so I should go. I'll walk out with you, Anselm.
Yeah. I nod. I said, just one more thing. And I let you kind of look back at Dietrich as we are. I'm sorry, man. One more thing. So with the two of them, one thing that doesn't set right with me, I just can't get out of my head how odd it is that the storehouse burned down now. And I'm just wondering if there's anybody that could have gained anything by setting it on fire.
I do not know. That storehouse burning is a ill turn of luck. It could mean the death of us all. And hopefully Lord Adalbert, in his wisdom, will guide us through this crisis. And may the Mother bless you as well in counseling him, so that you will help him take the right path.
Come, Ingrid, I'll walk you home.
Okay, so you're walking out with Ingrid, and you're climbing the stairs, and she says, do you think the crisis is any closer to being resolved?
Oh, I don't know. I think it would take a real decisive something else to happen on either side.
And once this crisis is resolved and things start better, will you be leaving town?
Oh, I don't know. We may spend the winter, more than likely. I can't get over. I think men will die either way. They're going to die taking the fortress, but, well, they might not die either way. But if your husband's wrong, then many will die.
Yes. Well,
what do you think?
Oswald's business is Oswald's business. I don't really know much about it. I try to stay out of it, and I just hope the situation can be resolved. And if you stay the winter, then you stay the winter. But really, there's nothing here in this village. It's just cheese and goats and snow and rocks and pottery and baskets.
It sounds like he wants to leave.
Oh, I don't like it here. I would love to leave.
Oh, you want to leave? That sounds like you wanted us to leave. I understand.
Oh,
so
no. I would love to leave, and perhaps when you do, you could take me with you. And she starts sidling up to you, getting uncomfortably close or comfortably close, depending on how you look at this. So, big, strong man like you could help a poor girl out in the, get out of this hellhole. There's nothing here I am sick of goats and cheese.
You could. You could.
She is putting the moves on you, my man.
No,
What
yes.
do you do about the moves being put on by you, by her?
By her? Well,
Do you kiss her? Does she? Do you rebuff her advances? What goes on?
I do the only thing I can do. There's another place. There's got to be some place that's almost as warm as the cave.
No, yeah, there is.
Well, it's fade to black, but
Fade to black, but
the.
this is important information to have. All right, so back to the banquet hall where Anselm is suspiciously late for some reason.
And Kai has been scanning the crowd, for Ingrid, the most attractive woman. This is the third part of his plan to see how jealous people are. It's like, well, the stranger is just going to come in, and whoever she's attached to, he'll just kind of separate her from them. But she's not here, so he's just been eating and growing more and more bored.
And so, so the banquet moves on, right? And it reaches its close, and the time approaches for a decision. And Oswald thunders in. Right? He looks displeased. He sort of sits down and grabs a piece of cheese and starts munching it. This is his unhappy eating. And a little bit later, I suppose, Anselm.
Anselm wanders in, and does he bring Ingrid with him? No, I don't think. I think that'd be a little bit much.
Straightening up his clothes, right?
Yeah, he's kind of bouncing in.
Yeah. All right. So you are arriving at the tail end of the banquet. Anything else you want to do before Lord Adalbert calls to order? Because that's what he's going to do.
I'm going to walk back up, sit down next to Kai, and say something's not right. Nothing's going on. I know Oswald's wife wants to leave the town. She's had something going on with the priest.
Just start laughing.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
the hickeys and the.
Yeah. So the priest.
Oh yeah. She'd like to leave the town, would she?
I said, yeah, she'd like to leave the town. Jealous, and but clearly had something going on with the priest. I think she wants to leave him by any means possible. But look at him. Who wouldn't? I can't draw a bead on it whether there's something up with him and Günther, or whether they're just greedy. But I mean, with Friedman rather. Günther, though, I've talked to his men, and I think he's on the level. I think he really believes what he's saying. I don't think he has. It doesn't look like he has glory in mind. At least that's not what his men seem to think, and they're usually a good judge of the leader.
My concern is simply that other than a military victory where they would then need to capitalize on this in some other way. They're protecting themselves from incursion, okay, but was there one? There are plenty of suspicious people here who could have set a fire, and I don't know. I mean, it's not like people are saying lightning struck during a storm and the grain house burned down, or some dumb herder was careless with fire and the storehouse burned down. It's just the storehouse burned down. They don't know how the storehouse burned down. So all of these things bother me, and to be brought tonight to the decision of we either go to war or we don't based on our counsel without knowing these answers, it's an impossibility.
That's true.
So I had hoped
really
to
don't.
walk out of here with Ingrid to get people talking about something else, but you beat me to it.
Do you think I should bring it up?
The fire or Ingrid?
Ingrid.
I'd rather you brought up the fire.
Okay, yeah, I suppose it would be a little uncouth if I just stood up and said, "Yeah, well, I just slept with your wife. What do you think about that?"
At the very least, I want to know who discovered the fire, who reported the fire, something like that, because I have ways of learning more about their experience.
All right, well, then I'll bring it up, even though, you know, one thing about Anselm is he's definitely a little bit hesitant to like overstep his boundaries. You know, as he's not a gentry, but looks not okay.
All right. So
Waiting for the
at this time, Adalbert grabs a dagger, I suppose, with a pommel, right, and bangs the pommel on the table, boom, 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 and rises, right, and says, "People of Hoframstead, knights of the young king, I asked for your counsel. Words have been said by Gunther and Friedemann, counseling war or peace and trade. And your bravery and your prowess has been demonstrated right here this very day. So I would ask the council of the representatives of the young king, what would you say is best for Hoframstead? Speak truly and without fear." And he sits down.
I say, look at Kai expectantly, and then stand up myself and smile, and kind of take a deep, kind of swallow, because it's not my. Gentlemen, before we give you counsel, there's one question that I must ask. How did this fire happen? As an outsider, I look around and I see motivations from the various gentry here. And everybody could benefit from this fire in some way, shape, or form. Nobody's told me how this fire's happened. And it seems too coincidental that at a moment like this, that you could be backed into a corner and having to make a hard decision like this based upon the stores of the village really being almost wiped out. And I could see somebody like Gunter benefiting from it, because then, of course, you might have to go defeat the garrison and grab the stronghold. But I could see the merchants benefiting from this as well, because now you're forced to engage in trade. So who would benefit the most? How did the fire happen? That's the question I posed before you. We can't give counsel without this information.
As he's asking it, I'm looking for reactions among the listeners.
Okay. To roll wits. Let's maybe do that.
All right.
And I'm just being my charming self.
I rolled a 6, to which, I get to add 8.
So that is 14. So that is a success. And so what you are perceiving is confusion. And Anselm, not Anselm, I keep saying Anselm,
Adalbert
says, we may never know. If there was a storm, it might have been lightning setting fire to it. It might have been lantern collapsing and breaking from the wind and setting the storeroom on fire. It seems fate has taken a hand in thrusting our community into this difficult situation.
was there a storm?
Yeah, there seems to have been a storm. We may never know. Not when you reach my age, you come to understand that not everything has a clear explanation, but that fate sometimes deals cruel blows, and it is up to you to deal with circumstances arising from it. I understand your concern, although I cannot countenance that your implication of this being the result of malice. I will not countenance that. Or our lives are at risk. Both plans are risky. We risk war on one hand. We risk not enough trade and starvation on the other. It is mainly Oswald's cheese and baskets that burned in the storehouse fire. Gunther and his men were in the mountains scouting. If what you imply is true, then who knows who set the fire and for what purpose. But our decision still needs to be made. What would you do in my stead for the good of Hoframstead?
If the survival of your two villages is dependent on the free flowing of resources between them, then they are not two villages, they are one. And every day you allow to pass where they are not bound together, united, perhaps in some symbol, some fortress situated between them. Every day that this is allowed to pass is a day where this type of risk is allowed to continue. Now, how these villages are brought together is entirely up to its chieftains. Will they work together to find the common bond that binds all Iron Folk? Or will one wipe out the other? I don't think you are strong enough to wipe them out, nor they you, or with the sorts of passions we've seen displayed here tonight, it would have happened already.
Then you counsel that we seek a peaceful solution, and perhaps trade will be the key to deciding the future of Hoframstead.
I stand with Anselm that the timing of the loss of the granary is too convenient and too suspicious. And there are men like me who could make it happen at a distance. And there are those who are willing to strike bargains with beings who will do it for them. This we all know. Maybe events like these are happening in Edmundsburg, yeah, as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
And so you can see, Gunther shaking his hand and slamming his fist on the table. And the rest of the warriors are going like this. And then Friedemann is brightening up. And so is Oswald. It's like, although Oswald is still angry, he bites the cheese again, takes a gulp of wine.
But I notice that a man like Oswald is not tightening his belt, nor is he suffering the ill effects of hunger, and I have to wonder why.
And, people look at him, and
Gunther knows he cannot eat stone walls. He knows he cannot survive the winter simply by owning a fortress. It's one step to some other goal, safety, security, but Men cannot eat these.
I don't care for your tone. It is my cheese. It is my goats. It is mine.
Have you no chieftain? Were I your chieftain, I would not brook this kind of conversation for a second.
Adalbert frowns. Says, it is the cheese of the village. You own the goats, but it is all our fates that ride on it. And why would I put my own food at risk? He said, these are baseless accusations. I set no fires.
Well, there is one way to find out.
Is there?
Yes, there's a spell called See,
Ooh.
which enables Kai to have the target's experience. And then later can, on a successful wits roll, pull up the necessary information, with luck.
Okay.
So if you are an honest man, you have nothing to fear from this magic. And if you are not, then you've answered the question and the magic need not be cast.
And he's bewildered, and he looks at Adalbert and says, you would allow this sorcery to be practiced on me? And Adalbert says, the men of Rolke have a point. There is suspicion cast upon you, Oswald. A chance to clear your name. You witness his power. You witness the resurrection of, not the resurrection, you witnessed how he healed Gunther after their battle. He says magic will not hurt you. Not if he says it won't. And so, you can tell he's angry, but he says, I have nothing to hide, and walks over to you.
Does Friedman look relieved?
No, but he's still but happy. You can tell that he's getting his way, right? So he's like, yeah, we're winning, awesome. But he doesn't seem nervous by the prospect of your spell, right? So
Okay. So I'll look at Anselm to see, just to get a sense of how he feels about this sudden proposal.
Hell, I don't trust the fat man. Go ahead. Just let me know if I should kill him.
This one is a ritual, which, as far as I know, is the first ritual that we have cast.
That is true.
Alrighty. Excellent.
So
Cast this ritual requires 1 hour per color point to cast.
So that's 2 hours.
All right. So a stool is brought forth so that Oswald may sit and await your...
Oh, he's going to hate this.
Okay.
So, as we know about Kai Ernst, his conception of personal space is non-existent. He owns all the space. And so, circling, right? There's a certain connection between wind and circles and tides in his magic. And so he's reaching into the fire pit and grabbing ash, and he's marking Oswald's expensive clothing, and he's marking his flesh, and he's reaching into his mouth, and he's reaching into his ears, and he's running his fingers through his hair and touching him in odd places. And he's, behind him and he's whispering and he's in front of him. And sometimes his voice is, shakingly loud. And sometimes it looks like it's loud, but it's just a whisper. And he is not paying attention to the crowd. He's only completely focused on Oswald. And then they end up with Kai behind him, right, with one arm around his body, with his hand pressed deep into his heart, and the other hand up against the side of his face, and the side of his face pressed up, against the sweaty jowls of Oswald. And there's just this sense that something is being pulled right through the pores of Oswald's flesh and is being consumed by the pores and Kai's. And then they separate.
And clearly, Oswald's anger dissipated very early into this process, right? Replaced by fear, just plain fear, right? But he dares not move even. So he just lies there passively as you complete the ritual. And so I don't have, let me get the
He
book.
can recall specific details with a switch versus 12 roll. He just can't he perceives his experiential history, but not his thoughts, opinions, or data-based information.
Right.
But he can recall specific events, specific details.
So he can get a sense of what's been going on in his life? Is that
right? Basically, on a wits plus 12 roll. So I would imagine what we're talking about is that I would not be able... Where did it go? I would not be able to, let's say I can't read his thoughts.
Entire experiential history, and you perceive it. Okay. But not thoughts, opinions, or data-based information in the person's mind.
So I don't suddenly know he's guilty.
But you can at some point recall specific details if you wish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of always looking at this like a search, like a computer search, like search for the time that you told somebody, light the thing on fire, or light it on fire yourself.
But if you access his experiential history, you get a general sense of what his life has been like, right? So what you get from this is that, this man is quite smart. He has been in this village and has managed to seize upon opportunity always. And so he has risen, from a humble goat herd himself, right, through the acquisition of bigger herds, through learning the process of the cheese making, right, from the elders when he was young, and improving upon the process and leading a frugal lifestyle to build, right, this empire for whatever metric, right, in the small village, right? But he has acquired more goats. He has advanced this business and the cheese and the baskets, and slowly over years he built this empire, right? But he's also a man of pleasures of the flesh, right? So he loves to eat, and he is content. He has what he wants. He gets to eat as much as he pleases. He gets milk, he gets cheese, he gets Ingrid, the most beautiful woman in the village, right?
He's selfish.
He's selfish. He's all about himself, but you don't get the sense of this overpowering ambition, right? It's more content that you would think, except of late he seems unsatisfied with something in his life, and what you get the sense is Ingrid. Ingrid is in his mind. He's unsatisfied in some way with her.
So
is that vague enough? Specific enough? I don't.
Yeah. So as I've separated, I pushed him away, and I'll get in really close again and whisper, and just say, "She's already left."
And so he frowns at you when you say that. He said, what are you talking about? You've been watching Ingrid? Tell me, what do you know?
I turned around to the assembled group and I said, "Who here has had physical pleasures with Ingrid? Don't be shy. You won't be alone."
And the entire place goes deathly quiet, right? Nobody says a thing. And Adalbert scowls in his chieftain's chair and says, you would speak so of a man's wife in the middle of this council.
Yes. All of this is about motivation.
And you know, people start talking, right? There's this murmur, right, of people talking and looking back and forth, and wives looking askew at their husbands, and it's like, are you in on this thing? What's going on here? And you know, there's great unrest, and everybody's looking at each other, and you know, Gunther looks confused, and Friedemann is, you know, but nobody is admitting to anything, right? And you've read the room, right? It's mostly confusion, generalized confusion, right?
So none of these people have anything to offer Ingrid, including the chieftain. These are all the people who are vested or invested in the place itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to me who is not here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I ask. So, Anselm, anyone, Gunther, who among you is not here? Ingrid is not here. At a feast where the very fate of the community is being decided. Hours have passed and she is not here. And who else?
And then you start hearing, and a woman screams out from the back, Dietmar! Dietmar, the priest, is not here. And Oswald's face goes red, you know, with flushing rage. And he stands up and says, Dietmar!
Yes. So you can trust all of these people, Oswald. Nobody even flinched. Not even handsome Gunther there.
And so he turns to Adalbert and says, I would have justice. If what they say is true, I would have the head of this priest. He has dishonored me and my family.
Do you hear that, Anselm? He wants the priest's head.
I just start chuckling a little bit. I heard. Oh, only things are more cut and dry.
So you have been dissatisfied. And I try and draw a sense of this man's experience that in any way relates to harm or wishing harm. I no longer believe it's Oswald, but I want to search my feelings so I know it can be true.
Yes. Do it.
Okay. 6 and 8.
14.
14.
So, you don't get a sense that he is of course he's not a physically violent man. And you don't really get the sense that he wants to hurt anybody. But your initial instinct of him is quite right. He is quite selfish. As a matter of fact, don't think that he actually loves Ingrid as a person. You know, she's just another means by which to satisfy his own pleasures, right?
Right.
She's more of an object than a person to him. But nevertheless, you know, he is deeply hurt, right, by this. It's a possession of his that has been taken, and so in that sense, it's not real love, but it is just a physical
Possession.
thing. Yeah, it's possession and pleasure and selfishness at the bottom of this.
Anselm, you spoke with Dietmar earlier, did you not? You smell of prayer.
We did pray together for a moment. We did talk. And he's got some kind of odd worship going on of some or other, found some idol. But other than that, his cave seems unusually warm, but maybe it's just a coincidence. It's just good.
And at this moment, the door to the things opens a little bit, right? Very, it's not slammed or anything. It's just open. And Ingrid slips into the hallway.
She has impeccable timing.
She has impeccable timing, doesn't she? And Oswald screams, "There she is, the harlot! Seize her! Faithless woman!" Anybody do anything? Or
I'm not moving.
Yeah.
and,
I'll walk up to her and just kind of put my hand on her, but that's
her
about
eyes. Her eyes just go like this, right? And she's like, "Oh my God!" And
I say, "Don't fear. No harm will come to you."
She says, "What has happened?" And she looks at you and says, "What did you do?"
I haven't said anything. I haven't said anything.
Stone
I
face.
haven't said anything.
Yeah, Stoneface. Let's. Do we need to roll something?
No. Non-player characters don't make wits rolls.
No, non-player. Everything is player facing, right? So I'm wondering if you have to make some sort of roll to play it cool.
I just mean that Kai really is not much interested in the woman, but he's now just heard about the strange idol,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that has that's something he wants to see.
So Oswald moves up to her, right, and he starts screaming at her, and they say you've done this and you've done that and you slept with Dietmar. I will have his head. And then she starts screaming denials, right, and says that no, she is in fact not done anything or looked to anyone. And he says, "I will have the head of this priest," and grabs a knife of the table, right, one of those
Whoa.
implements, and starts moving toward the door.
Well, that can't be allowed to happen. But I guess I'm the one to stop it, so I'll move over.
Yeah, no, you're the one to stop it.
Yep.
Just lean against the door.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Ingrid is a lovely lady, and everyone can understand why Oswald is interested, or anyone is interested in Ingrid. And because people like to eat and people like to be warm, people can understand why Ingrid would tolerate Oswald's interest. No offense. What would Ingrid get from the priest? A nice bench?
He's a handsome fellow, and Oswald is not, but that's about all that you've surmised about him. Doesn't really seem to be anything special about him, other than he's handsome.
I mean, I can understand why she'd be attracted to a traveler of some type who could take her to a warmer land or something like that, but the priest? And I'm just staring at them,
I would have his head. Adalbert! Lord Adalbert! Justice! Justice for wronged husband!
Oh, maybe the four of us should go talk to the priest. What do you say?
Sounds fantastic. Kai
Let's
opens
go
the door
talk
and
to
walks out.
All right.
Yeah, I walk right out too.
So,
And as we're walking to them, I'm just like talking to Kai, like in a normal conversational voice. I don't care if this the happy couple can hear. These people have the only person in this entire group that has any honor is Gunter, and what he wants to do will probably result in the death of many people.
I
It could
think
be
so,
pointless.
yes. Yeah.
Everybody else, I mean, Adalbert, he's sold. I mean, I'm sure he's been a fine leader, but it's his time has come, and everybody else, I can't find anybody here to really like.
It's like grains of sand on the beach. The king is trying to hold all the grains of sand in his hands. It's impossible. Some of the sand will spill. But let's find out who's stirring the pot. Do you think it's an evil priest? Do you think? Man, I heard stories of evil priests when I was a child.
It could be.
Then again, there's Hadrick.
Well, I wouldn't go so far. This jury is still out on him.
the jury's still out, yeah.
You've seen those scars all over him. He certainly was not a nice priest. Alrighty.
So what is the plan, gentlemen?
Back to the glade. Back to the lovely warm cave of the priest.
And you're taking Ingrid and Oswald with you.
Oh, taking the happy couple.
We're assuming
Yeah.
they're following us, I think is more like it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, well, you probably need to keep. You need to bring them with you because otherwise they'll go at each other's throats, right? So you're already.
So
I
we hear
assume
the
you-
domestic disturbance behind us.
I assume you deprived Oswald of his knife. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But still,
Yeah.
All right, so you bring them with you, and you descend the stairs into the glade and go inside the grotto where Dietmar is tending to preparation of more cannabis. Right, he's harvesting it and preparing it, and yeah, and so you walk in.
Right.
He looks at you and looks at Oswald and looks at Ingrid and takes a step back and says, have you come in need of counsel? Because that's his job as a priest, right? To provide counsel.
Yes, I am distraught at the death of peace in this community.
We are assaulting the fortress. I take it we're going to war.
No,
Is
that
what
would
you
be
mean?
unity in the community.
Oh,
Well, see, right now they can't decide anything.
well, I could perhaps bring some of the ritual weed, and we could
Right.
seek a peaceful resolution to
A
all
peaceful
these.
resolution. You mean we could drain the intelligence out of our heads like water from a gourd and sit around drooling and ogling each other while chewing on more goat meat? I don't think so.
Well, it's, wisdom as it has been handed down for generations. As we smoke the weed and we talk things out, and peace ensures. And Ingrid screams from behind me, Dietmar, you fool!
Wait a minute. He hasn't made any charm rolls to these two people.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Do they like Kai?
Who would
But,
like?
You,
I
you
mean,
already did Oswald, but you didn't do Ingrid or
Dietmar.
or Dietmar.
Okay. Yeah.
Ingrid, 6 and 5 is 11.
So you
Not
do succeed.
surprising. Oh no, so it's got to be 12.
Oh no, 11. Hang on. Yeah. So
Yeah. No. If Ingrid liked him, that would be that would be impossible.
That'd be really, but she really goes for the forceful type, I guess.
Yeah.
And 8 and 5 is 13. So we're good with these.
So Dietmar does like you.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yes, you've been here before. You know that I tend this grotto and the village priests.
Right. A plague upon the land.
Dietmar, you fool! Oswald wants your head! And says, I will have your head, scoundrel, for taking my wife!
You hear that? Anselm, he's going to take his head.
He just steps back. He's like, I can explain. One thing led to another, and we smoke some of the. She came to me for counsel. She is unhappy, and so she came to me for counsel, and we smoked some of the ritual weed, and things got out of control.
While he's sniveling, I'm going to take a look at that icon, that mother goddess.
Yeah, so again, it seems to be made out of stone. It might be Pananthuri in origin. Yes, it bears some markings which indicate
Does
that.
Oswald have any experience with this thing?
Roll.
7 and 8. Yes, I remember if he remembers.
Yeah, no, it's like tangible things, right? Cheese, goats,
Interesting.
Wealth, women, not women, Ingrid, right?
Ingrid,
so, it's what the hell does he want with stone? It's and it's not like it's a valuable antique or anything. There's no such thing here. So no, he doesn't know.
Look at Kai. So do you think it's warmer in here than it should be?
And Oswald turns to you and says, he has admitted the truth. Kill him. Punish him.
No, I don't think he's the only person that slept with your wife.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. What do we do? Do we wrap this up? Oh, so give me a decision. That's what he says. Kill him. Bring me justice.
What Anselm says is true. I mean, I was planning on sleeping with your wife this evening. The thought wouldn't have occurred to me if I didn't think she was available.
And she's outraged that you would say that, but you never know.
Who wouldn't be outraged?
Who wouldn't be outraged,
exactly.
right? So okay, so this is going to be a bit weird, but I think your actions have warranted this. So he turns around and slaps Ingrid, and calls her faithless harlot, right? And slaps her across the face. And as she does so, a shadow comes out of nowhere, and where the statue once was, there is now a shadow with multiple arms waving about, and it rushes at them. What do you guys do?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that does it.
That tears it.
Get thee behind me, Ingrid.
All right, so the shadow with its multiple arms rushes at you, and I think it goes straight to Oswald, and one of its many arms flails about, and it just slashes into him, and goes down through his shoulder and just kills him. The blood spurts out, and Ingrid screams. And so, what do you guys do?
They think it's on.
It's on. All right.
This can't be allowed to happen.
So, just so everybody is clear, we are inside the grotto. There is, the cannabis plantation, which is a small patch, right? It's not huge. There's it's not a huge place, but it's roomy enough to accommodate, I don't know, a dozen people, maybe 20 people. So it's it's spacious enough to conduct a fight. You're not going to be really cramped unless you get pinned against a wall. There's not much in here except maybe some firewood, because you had a little picnic before, right? So there's some firewood, there's some benches and stools. There's a natural chimney up on top, so the air can vent out. There is illumination. There are, I think I said torches on the walls illuminating it. So that's basically the room, but there's no obstructions on the floor or anything. And let's go to the combat clock. Let me see if I can share the screen. Oh, I need to enable the screen sharing, please.
It's enabled.
Let's try it again. There we go. Okay, so everybody should be able to see the screen. So what are you guys, should I set up the screen before you guys react, I guess?
Yeah.
So according to your quickness, this is actually the order of operations.
Wow.
I am going to put, I think I'm going to use 8 for Ingrid.
Because it's curvy.
Yeah,
Yep.
that maybe reminds us. And our friend Dietmar, let's put it over here. He's a little bit stunned by the whole situation. So this is how things stand at the beginning.
Wow. That thing is fast.
That thing is fast.
Holy mackerel. Oh, great. Well, we're stating our attention at the beginning of this, right? And hold on, let me just double check to make sure I do this right.
That is true.
Yeah, always declare intent at the beginning of the combat and at the end of every class. So,
Yep.
So who
my
declares?
intention is to cast a spell.
Okay. Who declares first what their intentions are? The closer to the clock you are?
I think we always, I don't know, I think we always kind of declare intention.
Let's everybody declare intention so that you guys have some idea of what you want to do. The thing has just killed Oswald, and so it sort of looks around for a moment, and it sort of pivots with its flailing arms, and it's looking in the direction of Ingrid. So it's going to attack Ingrid.
Okay. Yeah, my intention is to cast a spell.
Okay.
That's obviously what's going on with me.
My intention is to cast a spell.
All right. So
I will be moving anyway, but I'm going to open up space between me and Ingrid. I'm not standing between it and her.
okay. How about Anselm?
Damn it. I'm going to Papa Braun go first.
Ooh, well, that's interesting.
So, in that case, I'm going to let's double check to make sure there's nothing else that all right. So I'm grunting this guttural incantation from the pit of my stomach. My eyes turn bright white, and just this horrible flash of light, the searing, burning whiteness comes out of me, and I dazzle the creature.
Ooh, and this is Amborion, right?
It's an Amborian spell. It's and their quickness, quickness loses a die, but it also gains a bonus die to its rolls in case it wants to figure anything else out about us. But the only way it can avoid losing that one die to quickness is to pump 2 brawn to cancel the effect.
So that means that does the actual quickness number go down, or is it when they roll?
When it rolls versus quickness, it's only going to roll one die instead of two dice.
Okay.
So if the creature doesn't have advantage, it's only rolling one die, and if it does have an advantage, it's rolling two dice. But it's not rolling two dice.
I should have stated from the beginning the creature has advantage because of its multiple arms. So
I'm very glad I did that.
It seems to move quite quickly. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So the good news is I've done that. And, you know, the bad news is unless it chooses to avoid that effect, that means it's not injured as far as I can tell. So it remains at the head of the line.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So Anselm goes to the back of the line, and what you should declare intention for the next round.
My intention for the next round.
How it goes.
My intention for the next round is to cast another spell. So,
cast another spell. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, I think its intention was declared, but now it only rolls 2 dice, and I think it's going to attack poor Ingrid. And
But pulls her up.
Does Ingrid defend?
It pulls Ingrid into the clash, and she chooses to defend, of course. And so her pool is twice her quickness, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's what it looks like.
So let's have somebody roll for her. Let's have anybody roll. She puts her split everything on defense. So that's she has a quickness of 5. So I guess that's 10, right? And
10 plus 2 dice.
That's right. So it attacks with. All right. So what does she have for defense?
Oh, who's rolling, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh. All right. Well, she gets a 12.
She gets a 12. So it's not too bad. So because this thing gets a 17 minus 12 is it's brawn plus its margin. So the margin is
5 plus its brawn.
17 minus 12 is 5 plus this brawn. Oh my God. It's 14 divided between
7 and 7.
Quickness and brawn. It's 7 and 7. And so he just its arm just descends on Ingrid and slashes her in half, just as it did poor Oswald. But now her body collapses to the floor, and the blood that spurts out of her is black. It's like tar, right? It's pitch black, and it starts to sweep over the floor, and you get this scent, sickly sweet scent of herbaja as the entire it's like oil, like black oil just covering the floor of the cavern, and this stench of herbaja permeates the area.
Dodge that bullet.
Yeah. And so it goes back to the end of the line, and its intention is now to attack Anselm, because Anselm tried to hurt it, and it didn't like that. But it is Kai Ernst's turn to cast.
So the oil is spreading across the floor, so I climb up on one of the benches. I don't climb up on one of the benches.
You do. There's now a zone of herbaja permeating the area, which affects your spell casting, if you remember correctly.
Oh.
That is on page 91, if you want to reference it, because it took me a while to find it, but I found it.
Well, let's look at this right now, because this is very important.
Yes. Nobody's marked for Urbaja. Okay, the other color costs an additional point of brawn to cast, I think is the most relevant effect that it's going to have. Because nobody is marked to... I think if you're marked with a relevant, right? If you're marked with Urbaja, then you get you get sort of a combat boost.
Right, okay. Physical injury equal to the number of relevant marks returns as
but it has combat advantage against creatures of the other color, right? So
fortunately neither of us are
and it makes me think that Kai, who has a couple of marks of Amborian, is probably affected as, you know, so the monster will have advantage against you. Right?
That's terrible.
Let's not talk about the fact that Anselm just cast a 2-point Amborian spell when he was marked with nothing.
But he isn't marked yet, and you cast it before the zone came into effect. The zone came into effect upon Ingrid's death.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Okay. So not marked. Excellent.
All right. Horrifying. Well, hopefully this will work like I want.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with it if it doesn't. I have brief hesitation because I think Kai might know better than I do. But as the stuff is spreading across the floor, I get up on the bench because I'm reaching up into the darkness of the roof of the cavern anyway, where the shadows are dancing, and growling and sweat is coming out on his face. He rakes his own face as he climbs up on the bench, and then with bloody fingers reaches up into the darkness, and then pumping 4 brawn for 2 extra dice will blast it.
Ooh, excellent. And this isn't a clash, so it stays where it is, right?
Right. It's a ranged attack.
Exactly. So,
are you giving your all to cast this?
Pardon me?
You're giving your all?
Not all,
with 4,
but a lot.
Okay, so it just takes damage, right? There's no resisting this. There's nothing.
Simply.
Yeah.
So
it's 3 dice to roll to create damage. And hopefully it will not be 3 dice of 1 like we saw with
Anselm. Yeah.
That was Ingrid.
That was Ingrid. That's true.
Not I.
Nothing to do with it.
I rolled a 6 and 2 4s.
Oh my God. So that's 14 points of damage, which it must allocate symmetrically. So it is 14. It's 7 to each side. And so describe what this blast looks like.
All right. So as I said, I reached up into the darkness with my own blood-stained fingers, or with my fingers stained with my own blood, and pull a seething mass of the darkness.
Of the darkness itself. Awesome.
Yeah, which seems to be reacting to the Amborian anyway, slickly glowing, like hints of silver in it anyway. And the stains are shooting up his forearms, and he actually physically throws it. And then when it hits, it detonates with wind and sound and nausea, and like the flesh seems to be melting of all those who are standing around, but the only ones actually affected is the creature.
So it sort of flickers like a flame when the wind picks up, right? So it's the shadow sort of flickers, and when it stabilizes once more, it is diminished. You see it seems smaller. not quite as many flailing arms as there were a moment ago. The oily blackness in the floor seems to ripple, right? Like a stone had been thrown on a pool of oil, right? And so it suddenly quiets down, but the creature seems much diminished, and its movements are noticeably slower than before. And so it comes to.
Oh, and I'm still in the process of casting magic. It just doesn't stop.
It just doesn't stop. It's one continuous motion, right? And so, Dietmar is up, and so Dietmar is struck by the sight of Ingrid on the floor amid this pool of oil and her death, and so he screams in anguish at the sight and looks at Anselm and says, "You did this! I'll kill you! I swear I'll kill you!" And so he tries. Well, he doesn't try. He does pull Anselm into a clash.
Excellent.
But he is unarmed. Is there any?
So is everybody.
Yeah, right.
There's no special rules for
particular rules. No, it's just the same exact. It sort of
same
works,
exact
right?
thing.
So
Same
yeah,
exact thing. It's like when you take all the damage, then you're not dead. Then somebody has to do that much more damage to beat you to a bloody pulp. So yeah, but it's just same rules.
Yep, it's good.
excellent. So
I'm defending against this idiot.
let me do his split. All right. So who has the advantage here? Clearly, Anselm has the advantage because he is a trained warrior of the circle, while this guy is a goat herd, right? So clearly, the advantage goes to Anselm. He's mad, but that's all he is.
Okay, good.
All right.
Idiots. Crap. All right, so that's 7, 9 plus double quickness is 25.
25. So that's good enough to evade his clumsy attempts to pummel you in frustration and rage, and it's just a mindless attack. But you note that his eyes seem to have gone completely black, right? As he screamed his hate, as he screams in hatred at you.
Make a mental note. Here's one other guy I have to kill.
And so he goes to the back of the line, and his intent is to keep attacking you.
Excellent.
But he has to wait because now it's Anselm's turn to do something.
Grant parrying this idiot off and trying to push him onto that slippery pool of Urbaja oil just to get him out of my way. The pitch of my voice has changed from a pure tone to one that's just full of raspiness, and you can almost hear the spirits of the dead chanting with it. As you can see, wisps of the black mist coming from the floor, coming from the pool of Urbaja, coming from him, coming from everything, the cannabis, everything that's been tainted by Urbaja, as I'm sucking it right out of it, and I just vomit this black junk out of my mouth as I blast the creature.
Oh, awesome.
And please don't roll a 1. Because that would really suck if I just spent 2.
Let me do the defense
6.
here.
6. Yes, there's no defense against it. I don't believe.
That's right. There's no defense. So
6
there's
damage.
6 damage. So it goes 3 and 3.
That's right. Oh.
And so when you do that, this blast of this foul, dark liquid, right? The same color as the oil, and it just hits the creature and covers it. And as it's an enormous amount of fluid, right? And as it subsides, so does the creature. It sort of all melts into the floor, into the seething pool of herbaja now bubbling at the floor of the cavern as you have slain the dancer demon that
I ask a
threatened
very
the village. Yeah.
and ask a very important question in the chat though before everything is over.
Where is the chat? There's a chat. Hang on.
That's something I forgot from my game.
That is a very good question, and I don't remember. I believe it is a demon, so
It might happen.
it might happen.
And my intention, as that happens right now, like as I'm moving to the back of the line, is to kill this idiot by any means possible.
And the demon is skilled.
Don't worry, I have your back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing as I'm holding nothing, I may have to beat him to death with my fists.
Okay. Yeah. So that is true.
Damn it.
Yeah. So the area where the flailing shadow was is now the rest of the area is like a still pool, right? You can smell the cannabis is suddenly flowering, right, and rising on the floor as it grows uncontrollably. And so the black pool is mostly still, except for where the area of where this shadow fell, and now that area is bubbling up. So let me read it real quick because I forgot completely about it.
Yeah, so did I. I remember reading about that afterwards, thinking like, "Oh man, that's awful."
It's because there's a whole section, and everything
Right.
in that section is a demon, right? So,
Right. Yeah, that's the gift. That's the gift that keeps on giving, right here.
yeah, and so it's quickness. Okay, so I guess we could put it. Let's give it a second number. Here we go. We'll pull it in here. So Kai, you notice that this area on the floor is now bubbling and sort of there's activity in that area. The fluid is not still.
Okay.
It lives.
And you're a wizard, so you probably recognize this, right? You know what it is?
Yes.
Okay. So it is Kai's turn, and this thing is there.
Okay. I am worried about many things. But I'm going to stick with what I had intended, right? And so shifting over to Amborian.
Mhm.
Ooh.
It's this spell combination thing that's sticking in my head, and I found it actually on page 134. But it's not leaping out at me that what I want to do is a good thing to combine. So, but anyway, just so we remember that spell combinations do exist for non-ritual things. Right. I'll be casting Blade.
Ooh.
So still up on his perch, Kai utters a brief and echoing shout, slams his palms together. There's a brilliant discharge of light. I spend another brawn, and when my hands separate, there are two blades present, one of which I toss to Anselm.
Cool.
All right.
Now, are we still in the zone, or is the zone not in effect?
Yeah. No, you're still in the zone.
So that costs one extra brawn, right?
Oh, that's true. If it's an Amborian spell, it costs you one extra brawn to cast.
Then that would take me to 0 brawn.
Don't look at me like that, man. You're not dead or anything. You're just tired.
So I will just create the one blade and toss that one blade to Anselm.
Oh, okay. So, Anselm, you get the blade, but as you catch it, Dietmar seems intent on harming you in some way, but of course, you have the advantage again. And he's completely, just flailing about trying to hit you. And so he's going to pull you into a clash.
Yeah, I don't have time for this idiot, so yeah, I'm defending entirely.
Okay. So please roll your defense.
Oh, well, that was a 10 plus 16. So it's a 26.
Yeah, so
Once again, I'm just like, not now, you idiot.
out of the way, you
I'll
moron.
kill you later.
And so he goes back to the end of the line. And so this is how it stands. It's Anselm's turn now. I mean, the waves of Anborian is just a zone. It's been created. But there's a central pool of bubbling, dark stuff.
I'm going to pull this dark stuff into a clash. Over this ordinary sword of death.
You're going to pull the thing into the clash?
Yeah, if I'm up, yeah.
Okay. And you're going to use what? What are you going to do? Attack it with a sword?
Yeah, I can attack it with the sword that's just been tossed to me.
Okay. Okay.
That is my intention.
Okay. So, roll your...
Yeah. And who has advantage here?
I'm going to say you have it. You have a weapon at your disposal. I'm going to say that you have it, and you're also pulling it into the clash. So you are definitely seizing the initiative in this circumstance, it seems to me.
Right, okay. I'm just looking here at how I'm going to... I'm just doing my split here. Okay, I'll do my split. Committed to my splits.
Do you have your split?
I got my split.
Okay.
Okay, and that is it 9? Is it 12? So that's, I have 24 offensively, and I have 16 defensively.
Well, that is very good because
Okay.
when you slash it with the sword, you can see that it, you part it right down the middle, right? But it just continues to flow around the blade as it lashes out at you. Fortunately, just in the nick of time, you manage to sort of sidestep and the thing just falls to the floor. Again, it does not seem injured, right?
No.
So nobody is hurt, and the clash just happened. So I think it goes like this, I believe.
Yeah.
Because the one who initiated the clash sort of retains the advantage if nobody has. Let me double check that. The killing.
Oh yeah, no. If it's uninjured, yeah. The one that the puller is first in line. The pulled is second in line.
Right.
Nobody took injury.
So it goes like that. Yeah. If somebody's in, then they go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So it is Kai Ernst's turn once again.
Okay.
You guys are. Who's the wizard? The only wizard here is Kai, right?
Right.
That's correct.
So you could make a wits roll to figure out, what this thing is, what it does, if you don't remember.
Yeah, I'll do that. 11 plus my wits.
8.
Okay, so that's more than 12.
19. Good.
So that is more than 12. So you know that this thing is a splotch, which is the remnant of a demon. You know that this thing, you know, it'll keep attacking anything, and that it will attach to people if it inflicts, you know, if it manages to hit somebody, they'll just engulf it, right, and become part of it. And once it does, you'll have to attack whoever it's attached to, so you'll hurt both things. It is really hard to detach, but you can do it if you can pull it off somebody, but it's really hard to do. But the problem here is that it is immune to sharp weapons. It can only be smashed with blunt weapons.
Well, all right.
Or
I'm
magic,
standing
of
on a
course.
blunt weapon.
Yeah.
Why didn't you cast a mace? Oh,
Look, you. Grabbing up the bench. I can't help myself. So we've got Dietmar and Selman the Splotch roughly together. Right?
Yeah.
So I will charge Dietmar with the bench to knock him into the splotch.
yes!
Okay.
Yes!
So you're pulling Dietmar.
Okay.
Okay. That's right.
So in that
So-
situation,
So Dietmar, you know, sees you rushing him and just like screams in rage and tries to attack you as well. So it's and again, you are combatants. He is not. You have the advantage for this clash.
okay.
Do your
Gotta
split.
do my split. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. 6, 4, and 4 again.
Ooh.
With a 10 for attack.
Mm-hmm.
So 24 and a 4 for defense.
Oof.
So 18.
So it's 24 for attack and 18 for defense on your
Yep.
part?
Yep.
Okay, so you managed to avoid his clumsy flailing about, and you hit with 24. So, yeah, I mean, you just brain him with the with the stool, right, that you picked up. You just smack him into it, and he just, you know, the blood is pouring down his head, and he stumbles back and collapses on the floor next to the splotch.
I was hoping to knock him into the splotch, but it doesn't.
Sure, it's fine. It just collapses on top of the splotch.
Okay.
That seems fine. And that brings Kai back to the end, and Anselm is up. And you know the Dietmar's body is thing. It falls on this thing, so it's being engulfed by the splotch.
Oh, okay. I watched this thing go around my sword. I watched Kai whack it into the, you know, Dietmar into the splotch. And, God. At this point, I'm baffled. So I look at kind of like, and I'm backing up. I was like, how the hell did we kill it?
Use the brazier.
And so grabbing the brazier, and I'm going to like just dump the whole thing on him.
All
I'm
right.
gonna pull this thing into a clash.
Yeah.
We'll call it Deet Splotch.
Yeah.
Splotchmar.
So Splotchmar. So we need to probably improvise some sort of weapon for the thing, right? For the
Kill it
It's an
with
incidental weapon, which really doesn't. I mean, I think the only thing the rules really give you is like, is this going to give you advantage or disadvantage using this incidental weapon?
All right, so that's exactly what we can do. So you will have the advantage, and you can hurt it. So you split the do your split and everything normal, but it counts as something that can actually hurt it, as opposed to before, right? So, oh,
Okay.
I lost the page with a splotch. Splotch, come back. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm committed. Romantic. Eye! It shall be I that kills the splotch. Okay. So it's 25 offensively and 13 defensively.
25
split.
offensively. Okay. And 13 defensively?
Yeah. There's a 14-2 split.
Okay, so you heard it first. It's 25
First.
offensively. So that's 25 points.
Right.
You divided, plus your brawn.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
plus my
ridiculous amount. Yeah.
What did it roll defensively?
Nothing. So that's the full 25 plus your brawn.
Oh,
So
nice. Oh, in that case, yeah,
it's a ridiculous number, right? It doesn't really matter, but it's going to hurt you before it dies.
Yeah.
And so it does. You had a defensive 13, so it's 22 minus 13 is 9. Plus it's brawn 3, it's 12 points. So you divide 12 points equally between 6 to brawn and 6 to quickness.
Okay, excellent. So in that case, there's really no negatives here, but my brawn has been brought down to essentially -5, 0. But, but my quickness, my quickness is still 3.
Oh, good.
So it's good because you had 10 points altogether. Or no, I'm sorry, my quickness is 2.
6 and 6. Yeah.
Okay, my quickness is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Excellent.
But fortunately, the splotch zizzles, right? And it's sort of, it catches fire with all the coals spill out of the brazier. And so it burns. And then, as it's just bubbling there, and the oil just seems to cover it as if it were water, and it doesn't move anymore, right? And once that happens, right, the oil starts to seep down into the stone, which is now blackened, and the plants now show dark spots right on it, but they're growing faster. The place seems hotter. The statue, which was once on the niche on the wall, right, is now a crumbled mass of stone, right? It just disintegrated into small bits of stone. But yeah, and you can sense the Herbaja zone all over you, all over this place. But you have prevailed.
Yeah, I'm like, and I suppose I should roll now to see if I'm maimed.
Ooh, let's do it.
Unless you want to roll later, but yeah. So if you're either your brawn or your quickness are drawn to 0 during a fight, you can roll unhurt brawn versus 12 or suffer maiming. So the effects narrated in combat become more real. So what kind of look?
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. All right. Oh, 6. Oh, I just made not being maimed.
Nice.
My brawn is a 6. Unhurt brawn is a 6. I know, chicks dig scars. I couldn't get maimed, but no, I'm not maimed.
You're not romantically maimed.
Not romantically maimed, but I've been brought down to.
Excellent.
I'm hurt.
I'm going to help Anselm out of the grotto after assuring myself that all the corpses are inanimate
Yes.
So far.
So far, yeah. I guess you could drag him out or something, but if you wished.
Yeah. So I'll remove Anselm outside of the zone.
Yes.
Then I will go back into the zone and drag out the corpses
Okay.
while bellowing charmingly for fire.
For fire, to people to bring fire.
Yeah. For a pyre, which we will build higher. And then we'll burn the corpses. And then I have to rest.
All right. All right. So, okay. So before we go any further, do you have any plans for the zone?
I fully intend to try to destroy the zone.
How would you go about doing that?
I'm really, really tempted to call down Wrath, actually.
But see, it says in the book that if you do that, it doesn't really get rid of the opposing zone.
Then you have both.
And you have two zones. Yeah.
I'm tempted to do.
Yeah. So I'm just asking because, this might be a place to end it unless you have something unresolved that you wish to handle. Because I don't want to call it off if you still have plans, but
No.
Are there any concrete plans? So I think this is where the venture ends, right? So the pyre is lit. You consign the bodies in their tragedy, right, to the fire. There's a zone over Baja, right, and you can feel it slowly seeping out of the cavern itself. It'll probably, in time, you estimate, just cover the. You remember that it was descending some steps, and then it was like an open space and the cave at the end. It'll probably just take over the natural amphitheater region, but it shouldn't spread too much wider, right? These things,
Right.
They spread a little bit, but then stay contained for a while. And if they spread, it'll take years to spread, right? So in your experience, it's just this part of the village is going to be affected by that.
Right. Well, it's more reason for them to cooperate with their neighbors.
Yeah, they should move to Edinburgh.
But your intent was to have them conduct a raid, a display of martial strength. Do you guys go on the raid with them or no? Because you decided you were doing a display of martial strength, so that strengthened Gunther's position of taking over the fortress.
Yeah, I was demonstrating to Gunther that he might, be careful what you wish for, and then demonstrated to Oswald to be careful what you wish for, to make them really talk to each other about what they want to do.
So did you or did you not encourage the raid? Because they were sort of waiting for your backup, and I understood it to mean that given your martial display, they were like, yeah, we can do this. Let's go raid let's go take the fortress. We can do this.
I'm not.
I may have misunderstood your intent.
I was advocating for I don't
peace.
see these two villages as being separate. I see them as being one, and they needed to realize that. So Oswald was threatening the peace by trying to make himself prosperous, and Gunther's threatening the peace by trying to
Well, Gunther wanted to raid the fortress because he was afraid of invasion, and Friedemann wanted to trade, just to conduct trade with them, right? So they could get to the winter together. So I was your intent to...
No, my intent was not to go join them on a raid.
Oh, okay. So I misunderstood that part. So you're okay with them attempting to make trade and get together, as one people through the winter, if that's what you understood. All right. So that happens. That because you You convince them that they were strong enough not to need to resort to further violence. That opening lines of trade in the spirit of helping each other through the winter was the course of action to go. And so this, results in benefit to the young king, because now these two villages, survived through the winter, and perhaps their border enmity may have, been resolved at least for a time. They've learned to survive together, sharing resources and such. The only dark note in this whole thing is the zone of Urbaja, which has
hopefully they'll all move to Edinburgh and be smart and flee this area as fast as possible.
But that's it. I think that's how this venture ends.
Nice.
So anything else that I'm missing on the ending procedures? Because I might not have that. I think that's all you need to do. Relate how it benefits the young king in the end.
And
right? It does end to the
characters. We update the characters.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Well, they're certainly going to know we were here.
Yeah. They always do. It's not like we don't leave our mark everywhere we go.
Yep. So Anselm does recuperate in time. And
that's an interesting question, though. Is for clarification, is he's been injured.
Mm-hmm.
He suffered a loss of 5 brawn, because he had 6, through his own exertion. But then he took an injury of 6 brawn.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, at that point, he's kind of really only at 0. And so he only has 1 brawn point injury. Or is he really injured? Is he really, at 0? Because do we really treat that as 6 brawn wounds, and it takes him a long time to heal, as per the rules?
I think all the combat magic is just temporary fatigue.
Oh, the combat magic is temporary. That goes away. But, if you take all that away, he still suffered, a 6 brawn whack.
I see what
you
you
know
mean.
what I mean?
Yeah.
To go look in the rules. It's not a big. It doesn't really matter right now. But like that happened mid-venture.
Yeah, mid-venture would be a different thing, right? Right now, I don't think it matters too much. You'll have time to recover as you make your way back to Roll K.
What is it, Ron? We'll get back. Gethin, somebody
Ron will tell us. Or Gethin will tell us.
No, I just want to say, that's interesting. I wonder what happens in the middle of the adventure if that happens. Other than that,
Interesting.
I'm feeling fit as a fiddle, limping.
Interesting development, and thanks for the splotch, because I completely forgot.
Yeah, sorry about, I forgot about 2, and I felt bad because you guys killed the demon, and then I realized, oh man, I should have had a splotch there too. So, they're not nice.
Well, it certainly adds a lot to the drama, right?
Oh, it's awful.
Because in case you one-shot the demon, you still have,
it's awful.
It gets like a second win, right? So that's always good.
You literally give your all to put a creature of Urbaja down, and then something comes up that's almost as horrible, and it's really hard to defend against.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a neat little kicker.
So what do we think? Was it worth it to invest 4 points of brawn for 3 dice of blast? Or does it make more sense to spend 2 points of brawn for 1 die of blast?
Was it worth it? Well, the beauty of it is you bypass armor, so it's free damage, right? There's no attack roll, there's nothing. There's just damage. Just hurt it, right? And so the more powerful the creature, the more an initial blast can whittle it down to a point where it's worth fighting hand to hand, right? So it's easier to kill that way. So I think it sounds like a good investment to me.
But
particularly if there's one spellcaster and one fighter, so to speak, right? So you're doing this from, you're burning yourself out, but Anselm can still fight it. So if you whittle it down, you can still fight it, right?
Yeah,
Of course, there are the spells that inflate your brawn.
Right.
Right. Store and sacrifice and bless so that you can prime yourself prior to giving that kind of exertion. But,
yeah, I think it's worth it too, because I mean, I was just really glad I chose Blast and Dazzle as the spells. I changed the spells to Ansel and Hod because I think he showed up with like healing and confuse. I'm like, no, I'm not just checking those out, but really, you get involved with something like this, and just understanding how combat works. The last thing you ever want to do with a creature like this is to actually really be in a clash with it.
Yes.
You want to keep it off its feet, keep it off balance the whole time, like whack, whack, whack. And, it was sad that Dazzle didn't injure it, but you want to take its quickness away. And that's a big deal. And then constantly doing damage, but you just don't want to be in a clash with one of these things because they can do horrible things to you.
And I would like to point out that the creature, as described in the book, has a sort of combat algorithm.
Right.
In the sense that it's not 100% under the control of the GM. It has its own little automated decision matrix, right? It's like, if this happens, then this happens. And so I tried to follow that to the letter. And so that may explain some decisions, right? It didn't go straight for Anselm. It didn't go straight for Kai. It went for Ingrid. And then, things happen, which I'll gladly explain. I'll probably do it in the reflections video or something, but I will explain how I followed the algorithm described in the book, which was pretty interesting. It's a very interesting creature. So,
yeah, some of those have really cool algorithms, like what happens, when.
And so if there was the impression that I was pulling punches at any time, it might be because of the algorithm of the monster, right? There was a routine of things that the monster was meant to do. And so it did.
Right.
Yeah. Because I could have gone like, Kai. And then,
Right.
It would have been a very different combat. So.
Death to Kai.
Yes. Or death to Ansem, right? Why discriminate? But.
No, because Kai's a jerk, Hey. Kill him first.
Whatever happens, I want it to happen to me first.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. I didn't find it, but so big. But yeah, that was cool. The way it happened. It seemed very natural as well. So
yeah, so
didn't seem off.
One thing I was really happy about was that the idol crumbled all on its own, because the next spell, the spell I intended to cast, was Ruin, to shatter it. And I'm sitting there thinking, is this worth passing out for? And then I realized I no longer have, because I passed the useless blade to Anselm, I no longer have
enough
the
brawn
to even cast it. And it's like, now I'm attacking with a bar stool.
Did you tip over the Amborian threshold?
No.
No, so no marks or no
marks.
Nothing.
I've got one. The track is full with one Herbaja and
and the rest is Amborian
and 8 Amborian.
Nice. So it's excellent. And Kai, Ansem only cast
2. He's had 2 and 2. He had never cast a spell prior to this, so he's not in play.
Right.
So
in the first
he's
venture
bounced
he
out.
was in, he just shot his mouth off.
That's exactly right. Shot his mouth off and killed things.
That's good enough. That's all right. That's all I have basically for this venture. So,
so we got what do we do? Where's the improvement area, or
the So You Didn't Die section?
So You Didn't Die section. Where the heck is it?
It's probably in the venture section.
Probably. I really enjoyed this.
I intended to cast an oath, and then I completely forgot to cast my oath. I had a good oath.
I thought oaths might be invoked.
I cannot believe I forgot that. That's upsetting.
I kind of like the fact that we stumbled right into a thing that we suspected was weird, but no real preparation, no weapons, there's no armor, there's no. Now where you shall confront the thing. It's like, there we are.
But again, I'd like to point out that even though NPCs did things, you were ultimately the instigating factor for everything, because I was really concerned that I did not want to take agency away. So even though some things happened because like the monster killed Ingrid, you were ultimately responsible for that. Your actions led to that.
Right.
So, I'll talk about that in the reflections video. Components. Have we found it?
I haven't found it yet. Found it a bunch of times before. I haven't found it this time. But yeah, no, we definitely, there was nobody here that was really, a super bad person that was obvious. And clearly, we at the end, we find out that Ingrid and Dietmar have been corrupted by this team, but there wasn't something that was super obvious. Everybody that, we did a lot of investigation on our own. We kind of drove the bus, which was cool. So I felt like we had tons of agency,
Yes.
And of course, it took me a while to find out what the Urbaja zone did, and I have it in my summary of rules, of course. I didn't even read that. It's page 78. It's between ventures. Circle Knights who survived have a chance to improve their attributes. Choose a single attribute currently at 9 or less and roll 2d6. If the result is higher than its current value, improve its value by 1. Regardless of the result, no other attributes may be tested this way at this time.
There it is, right there. It's a little teeny thing here, man. Come on, man. It should have like a big thing. Where's your experience, man? Okay.
Experience is called Between Ventures.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
And so so that's it. So it's you lose stuff only if you don't do an oath correctly. There's something else that happens with magic. I think if you get a mark, but we didn't have any marks.
No, that's why I asked. So you didn't get any.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
So pick an attribute and roll 2d6, but it has to be 9 or less. 9 or less?
Yep.
Yes, 9 or less.
All right. Let me figure out which attribute on Anselm I would want to improve.
So nobody has a 9 or anything on anything, so you can choose whatever.
8 and wits.
You have 8s, yeah.
The thinking man would try to improve wits because his wits are 4. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. However, brawn would be really interesting to increase because that it runs out fast, and he's got a 6 brawn.
That's what I was leaning toward, but I'm going to go for Kai's charm, which is currently at 5.
Yes, he's not a very charming fellow. I think I wrote down here like how I kept track of who Kai and some had charmed, and it's like, well, it's bad. Like Kai is about.
But you went like half and half. You weren't. You didn't.
I didn't do too badly, but remember when we first meet Kai, the very first thing he does when he rides into that place in Temerian is to enhance his cast perfection on himself. So.
True. All right. So what are you going to improve? Did you improve it?
I rolled 4 charm. I rolled an 8, which is better than 5, so it becomes 6.
Charm goes up +1.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to try to improve Anselm's brawn. And I do. I roll 7, surprisingly, on 2d6. So so I raise his brawn by 1
7
now.
7. Excellent. It used to be 6, so now it's 7. Yeah.
Excellent. Which has nothing to do with the fact that I rolled 7 on a die. It just so happens to be a coincidence.
Goes up by 1. Yeah.
Kids. Yep. Coincidence. That's only 7 on 2d6. All right, that's not procedural crap.
Excellent. So I guess that's it. And it's up to me to prepare a new venture for next time.
Right. So we need to see the venture prep video for this, and we need to see reflections videos for this.
And then the what was I thinking?
And then the what was I thinking? The inside the heads of the NPCs video.
Yeah, that should be fun. Those are.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's like when the NPC did this. What was I thinking? Why did I make that decision for the NPC to do this? That's a fun video.
I like that video.
Okay.
Those
So
are fun videos
I guess I'll finish the reflections on what happened, and It's weird. It's weird because what was I thinking is a really big part of it.
Good, good.
Okay,
That
yeah,
helps.
we'll figure it out.
What was this? What was the splotch thinking? What was the shadow
Reflections
thinking?
on what it was like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how it turned out, and the characterizations and whatever else hard decisions you had to make. But then, what was I thinking? This inside the heads of the, when was it Abelard, the chieftain? What's going on in his head this whole time.
Okay.
I liked him. He's a likable guy.
Okay, that sounds
Poor
that sounds
bastard.
really interesting. All right, so yeah.
All right, excellent.
All right, so I guess that's it for venture number 5.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask Ivan how it felt to play Anselm, but maybe that will come up in his reflections.
It was I will say it was fun. Like getting into his shoes after a while, the guy just really kind of like took over. It was fun. He was a fun character. He was decisive, or felt like very decisive, but not in a Chiron sort of way. Not haughty, but just he felt like he was on a mission from God. It was almost like a Blues Brothers experience. Like clearly there's something it was interesting. It was like it seemed like he just got an idea in his head and he just kind of ran with it and followed his nose wherever it went. But was pretty much convinced that like it was. I didn't like look at the character sheet and say, "Oh, he's romantic." I'm going to make, but he just kind of emerged and like that's kind of how he was. I don't know if it's based on seeing him play before or just kind of keeping that maybe in the back of my head, but he really seemed to it really seemed very natural for him to think that if things were going to happen, it was totally up to him, and he was going to get to the bottom of everything, and he had a vital mission to perform, whatever that might be.
Like I really find it interesting that these characters, Kai and Anselm, have been conceived for what 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
Since
Longer.
Anthony did those original videos, it's a bunch of years, and so finally they get to hit the table and done so a couple of times already. So
I was convinced it was going to be TPK, and I had in my head this montage video of Anthony like creating the characters, and then they're like, "Andy, this one dies," and this. They both go down in one shot, in a matter of like real world time, about 2 minutes.
Well, I got to say again, it's part the algorithm of the monster, because had I gone directly after you guys, but I just like, no, honor the algorithm, right? So fight like the monster is, follow the instructions in the book.
Right.
As opposed to let's kill me a Circle Knight, which I could have easily done. And your choice of spells was really good. So the monster was whittled down from ridiculous combat capacity to, meager. It goes down. The next person who hits it will kill it. So that was a
note for me for next time I play a wizard is the spell combinations thing. That's something I wanted to do from before we started to play, and then in play didn't feel like I really remembered how to do it, and then when I tried to find it, I couldn't find it, and then the last minute it was okay because I was thinking I don't have a combination I want to cast, these two spells obviously going together in this moment. I wanted to cast 2 different effects, so I don't think they can be combined because they are different. But that wasted a lot of time for me in the scene. Thinking, can I do this? Should I do this?
It's part of the thing.
It was kind of weird playing, or interesting playing Anselm too, where like he's not an idiot when it comes to magic. I mean, none of them are, but like he's aware that he only gets it so much. Like at some point he's completely out of his element, and he just kind of looks back at the guys. Now what? Now what do I do? Completely, and almost kind of like really hating to do that. because I can see these guys working together and having a respect for one another, but that same time, like, you know, I didn't realize Anselm was like this, but really just this guy's like a social justice warrior or something. It's like freaking Gentry. That's the wrong way to say it. But, you know, he's the class thing is really bothering him.
Yeah.
Which was, you know, just I didn't really think about too much until it started to show up. But like he's this, you know, he's got this warring thing, so you've got this formality, and this is how you know, talk to the Gentry, and at the same time he's like, you know, this guy's full of crap. They're all full of crap. Yeah. So I can see him just kind of putting up with Kai an awful lot, and rolling his eyes and just letting him, like, let him go. Let him go. This is what he does.
Yep.
Good.
I do. That's all I do. Yeah.
But it's useful because they have different approaches to problems, and so doing it together, they kind of work together pretty well. But yeah, there's that moment like, okay, what do we do now, dude? I'm lost.
Right.
Excellent. All right. So I think that's it.
All right. Good game.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent.
You didn't die.
Sorry we didn't die, and you didn't get maimed.
I know.
Life goals.
I tried. I tried.
Okay, man. I was trying desperately not to die.
Yeah. Thanks. That's it for venture number 5. Circle of Hands.